On this episode of Hit the Books Podcast, we're talking about a lot of news coming out of Netflix, some surprising reveals about Gears of War, and pricing is released for PSVR. Stay tuned! Hello and welcome to episode 69
It's a sex number.
of Hit the Books Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Holcomb.
And I'm Emery Saunders.
And we're here to bring you all the nerdy news you need to know about this week. For those of you unaware, you can find us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Stitcher, on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, you name it. We're all over the place. So if you could, give us a like, subscribe, maybe share with a friend. Help us grow the community. It would be much appreciated. And of course, Nick Marlatt and Emery Saunders are two members of a Twitch stream called
Those Natural Ones.
So for you D&D fans, you can follow their campaign on twitch.tv/Those Natural Ones, and you can also find them on various podcast services and YouTube.
And we finally got the domain name for YouTube.
Nice.
It is YouTube, like youtube.com/Those Natural Ones.
Great. So definitely look up Those Natural Ones if you're in for a good time on a Tuesday. Their Twitch stream is at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Yep,
Every
8:30 p.m. every time.
And then they usually have the YouTube upload fairly quickly after that, usually the next day.
Oh, yeah. Also, this Friday is going to be the first in-person episode of Those Natural Ones.
Amazing.
I cannot wait.
So, I expect it to be bonkers.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be silly as all hell.
Did Nick, complete a table and everything?
Right now, I think the table's ready. Sound is ready. I think the only thing that we need to kind of bring to the location is cameras, which are most likely going to be a collection of webcams.
Nice. All right. Well, I will definitely look forward to that. I also got to re-up my Amazon Prime subscription, which you should too if you are watching Those Natural Ones. Go and support Emery and Nick on that show.
Yes, if you've already got an Amazon Prime subscription, please subscribe to us for free using your free Twitch Prime subscription.
Unfortunately, you have to renew it every month to keep it active. So if you could, just once a month, drop in. If you have a Prime subscription and you're not using it for any other Twitch stream, go ahead and give them some support.
Drop in, say hi, or say anything in chat, and maybe you can run into, I don't know, more people have been coming into the stream, and I think last time we got surprise rated.
Nice.
Yeah. Tune in and find out what happens.
On Those Natural Ones. All right, I think that covers pretty much everything. If you want to reach out to us, give some constructive feedback, or want to reach out for any promotional stuff, you can find us at HitTheBooksVids@gmail.com, and you can also find us on social media and reach out to us there, Twitter, at HTBVids, and Facebook.com/HitTheBooks. We do have a YouTube handle now, based on their new feature. We're at HitTheBooksVideos. Currently, that may change, but if you want to search for us a little bit easier, if you're not subscribed already, which, why aren't you subscribed? Go subscribe right now. Right now!
Oh, we're getting more official.
Yeah.
Getting slightly more official.
Set's getting a little more put together. Things are coming together fairly well. I have a baby, so it's a little harder to find the time to do the little stuff, but it's starting to look cohesive. We'll see if it lasts. Mediocre.
Mediocre.
And of course, Nick Marlatt is not with us this week once again, so Sir Pat Stew will be sitting in to keep us company.
And honestly, who could say no to Sir Pat Stew? Ian McKellen, that's who.
That's rude. I thought we were friends.
What do you think the X-Men movies were?
I want to see his neck get broken. All right.
His neck get broken. More like I want to see him turn to dust at the end of a third X-Men movie again.
I mean, with how old they both are at this point, it might come sooner than you think.
Oh.
But not Sir Pat Stew. Cover your ears. Earmuffs.
Yeah, earmuffs. Earmuffs.
We love you.
Well, we'll tell you what happens in the next movie when you're older.
All right. Well, for those of you unfamiliar with the show, we usually go through every news topic. We've started a new trend where we're going through video game stuff, then we're going through movie and TV stuff, and then we're going through comic book stuff, and then tech stuff at the end of the show. And, of course, we'll always give our prestigious, nay, life-changing award of Cover of the Week from Hit the Books Podcast.
Stay tuned.
All right. So, before we get into it, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well, apart from working my way through Cyberpunk 2077, which I found is maybe 80% side quests and 20% story.
That's like every RPG nowadays.
Yeah, and this one, the more I played it, the more I was kind of surprised at the Ubisoft level of checklists that you could definitely go through in that game.
You played Witcher 3, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk about fucking checklists? That entire game is nothing but checklists. I have been playing that game for like 6 years, and I still have not beaten it. Because I am just such a completionist. I can't resist. I have this ADHD, and I just can't resist going to the little question mark on the map.
That ADHD little tickle in your brain that says, ooh, what's that?
I just had the FOMO, you know? Like, I don't want to miss an Easter egg for some big, like, cool story that was not a main mission, you know?
Literally wringing all of the value of this game out as though you were, like, twisting a wet cloth dry. It is... And mind you, there's a lot of content in that game. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which has 2 expansions, one of which adds a whole nother map.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's expansive. It's almost oppressively big.
It is. That is an accurate description of it. Yeah, it's huge. It just takes so long. And I love it. I love the Witcher universe. I do not love the Witcher TV show, which we'll get to later in the show.
Oh, and those of you watching, you might listen to a reason why you too are probably going to fall out of love with that show.
Yeah, there's some problems, and now there's bigger problems. One of which has started a petition, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, problems mounting, unfortunately.
Did I tell you why I stopped playing Witcher again?
Why you stopped, like, is this time number
3?
3?
So, as you know, I have been on this personal mission for the past year or so, where I'm just going back through everything and
like completing all the stuff started.
Because I have this habit of getting these big, huge games, playing them for like 3/4 of the way, and then just getting occupied by something else. And then when I go back to, I'm like, I don't want to relearn all these game controls and figure out what was going on in the story again and try to remember everything. I'll just start from the beginning at some point in the future, and then I never touch it again. And so I have like all these partially completed video games, partially completed comic book series and stuff that I just got busy, never could get back to, or they got delayed and I never got to finish it. Well, I was doing really, really well with this. I went through a ton of comic book series that I had to catch up on our little hiatus, our previous one.
Yeah.
Before the baby. And then I completed a bunch of video games that I had left stagnant, and Witcher 3 was the next big thing on the chopping block because it takes up a lot of space on my hard drive, and I want to get over it.
It's a big game.
And then they announced that there's going to be a PS5 upgrade for free. And much like Final Fantasy VII Remake, I said, well, why do I want to play the lesser quality version?
you,
I'll just wait for it.
you fucking put it off again just to get an upgrade that's not going to do anything.
It's going to be prettier.
It's like you might get a performance mode where the game moves even more fluidly.
They're going to add a side mission.
They're going to add a side mission.
Yeah.
On a game that already takes 200 hours to complete everything. They're going to say, what's one more side mission?
Yeah. So I put it on the back burner and started playing
again
other games. So there you go. But sorry, I cut you off. Please
yeah.
proceed.
Yeah, I had gotten back into Cyberpunk, trying to work my way through like everything before I complete the main mission. Because, well, I hate to say it, but when it comes to Cyberpunk 2077, I've come to slowly realize that the main plot, in which you are resolving your connection to Johnny Silverhand, all of the other subplots are far more interesting. Like, there's an entire subplot where you are contracted by a person who's running for mayor to, like, go and steal, like, a piece of data that might, work against you. Only to later on find out that there's an episode where they're experiencing weird amnesia, memory loss, memories being rewritten, only to find out that it's potentially being perpetrated by a rogue AI from somewhere in the fucking net.
Nice.
And they end that particular side quest storyline by having, like, your vision just shut to black at one point and have a voice talk to you that seems weirdly mechanical, saying, hey, maybe don't push the situation any further. It's like literally a fucking ghost in the machine telling me to fuck around and find out. It's like, what the fuck is this game?
That's awesome.
It's amazing. Mind you, it's a basic first-person shooter. It's a basic first-person shooter and a not as finely tuned racing game. And by racing game, I mean when you occasionally hit someone on the side of the road, you are occasionally racing away from the law.
Remember in the third Arkham series game where you could play with the Batmobile and just fucking slam into people? But hey, Batman doesn't kill.
You mean the game where you 75% of the time are playing as the Batmobile?
Yes. and is shooting people with non-lethal rounds from a fucking tank. That's not how tanks work.
These rubber impact bullets only have the strength of a gorilla behind them. If a gorilla punches you in the face, you're dead. Jesus fucking Christ. If your car runs into someone and it tases them away from your car, that's cardiac arrest. Batman doesn't fucking kill people. Get the fuck out of here.
Ridiculous. So full of shit.
At least Cyberpunk 2077 is kind of honest when the game works. I might have experienced a bug or two that might have made the entire world look like it was flitting in and out of existence, like I was on, I don't know, future drugs. But it only happened to me once. I'll say that. Like in CD Projekt Red's defense, when I finally got the game at half off, it mostly works. Except for like where the fuck are the police in this game?
They're fucking dead.
Either they're dead or they're always busy doing something else other than, chasing after me.
Yeah. It kind of bums me out because you were so excited about it.
I was.
After watching the anime and then starting the game, and then now it's 2 episodes from then, and you clearly have softened on it quite a bit.
The anime is amazing. That's the thing. The anime is like, I was into that game for a little bit, then I fell out of it, and then the anime came out. I was like, oh my god, this anime is so good. That anime literally put me in the brain space I needed to be to want to play more of that game.
Nice. Yeah, you can always tell if an anime is good when it comes out because the ratio of lewd fan art goes through the roof.
just
If it's not good, like there's no lewd fan art.
Yeah, but
anywhere.
if it's good, lewd fan art skyrockets.
Yeah, all the Moon Mama, like,
oh my god,
fan art that
no,
falls across my Twitter timeline all the time.
Oh,
like,
no.
What is this? So
now, it doesn't help that quite a bit of that show is its own lewd fan art.
fan service.
Fans are being serviced, all right. Let me tell you.
All right.
Why look for a game that has someone making nude mods for it when you can just play Cyberpunk and just be nude? Or watch Cyberpunk Edge Runners, where you can just see people be nude.
Nice.
Hey, I'll give it to CD Projekt Red. They are not afraid of human anatomy at all.
Which I appreciate.
Not even when there's a bullet going all the way through it and making it a splatterhouse mess.
If you would like to send Emery
No!
your Cyberpunk 2077
Don't you do it.
lewd fan art,
Don't you do it.
HitTheBooksVids@gmail.com.
I swear to God.
Thank you.
You're incorrigible.
One of these days it's going to work, and I'm going to be so happy. If you want to make my day,
Oh my God.
send me your lewd fan art addressed to Emery.
We're gonna end up with terabytes, dude.
Terabytes. I will read it on the show.
Oh no. Okay, there is one other thing besides Cyberpunk. Actually, 2 other things. There's a game that's meme-tastic. Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins, or as I like to call it, Neo or Neo 2 Final Fantasy style. Team Ninja, I know what you did.
Plagiarism.
A little bit. The loot scheme in that game is nonsensical. But if you give me, like, this game's version of Drip, where I can look like an edgy, emo Frank Sinatra casting spells and shit, I mean, I'll take it.
Nice. All right.
The story, I thought I was done. I thought I had gotten all the way through. But then I come back to the game only to realize that there are like 2 DLCs, one of which dropped like a couple weeks ago, where let's just say they raised the bar or the level cap, as it were, as well as adding more jobs.
The worst part of Final Fantasy.
I
hate
the
job
part that
systems.
you like the least.
Yeah.
Let's be fair.
No, it's
like,
the worst.
I swear to God.
It's
Any of you who are fans of games like Final Fantasy Tactics, if you're into the job system, this game is going to be your jam, let me tell you. If the job system is not your jam, maybe just play a different game. I don't know what to tell you.
don't have to tell me twice.
This game is the job system all the way down.
I'll watch a YouTube video for the story and call it a day.
Okay, if you want to watch a YouTube video for the story, be prepared to hear the term chaos to a point where the term chaos is oppressive in how many times it's referenced.
Kind of makes you wish they went the Voldemort approach.
Oh.
You shall not be named.
You shall not be named.
Chaos!
I mean, they couldn't possibly go that route. One, because when they were advertising that game, they accidentally let the secret slip as to what the whole deal of the game was. That deal being the chaos you were looking for was inside you all along.
Inspiring.
And the monsters guarding the crystals that you needed to purify were actually the friends you made along the way.
Aw.
Yes. The impetus behind that game is realizing you're actually the villains to the original 1985 Super Nintendo, or Super Famicom if you're Japanese. The original Final Fantasy. You're the baddies.
Wasn't the original Final Fantasy on Nintendo, though?
Yes, the OG Nintendo. Did I say Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
Okay. My mistake. The
I'm just correcting because fans will ridicule us and bury us
right.
almost immediately.
Yep. Thank you.
We caught it.
We caught it in real time.
Cease and desist.
Actually, it was the original Famicom system in Japan that wasn't released until they came up with the name Nintendo. Yes, we get it.
Thank you.
And also, you're welcome.
By the way, we also have a segment for corrections at the beginning of the show. You notice the last few episodes have not had corrections. It's because I deleted them. I edited everything out that we fucked up.
This is like, edit out the fuck ups.
We're never wrong, but you'll never know about it. So if you're like, oh, they really jumped to the next topic kind of fast, maybe we fucked up.
Yeah. Why not just cut ahead? Why not? Just make it easier for everyone. Yeah. That game gets wild. You fight Bahamut if you're, a bad enough dude.
Classic.
Although, if you stat it correctly, and by stat, I mean wear the right gear to get the right class boosts, you can, in extra mode, let me be clear, in extra mode, where the mode that lets you, do extra damage and use your spells without having to drain your magic points. In extra mode, there is a way to effectively make yourself invincible. You can find these builds online, and if you're just trying to get through the story, what little of it there is, yes, there is a way to get through it without having to go through the drudgery of going through levels that you've already played in order to level up your gear and earn points to further the story along. It's honestly, when I put it like that, it's a little bit like busy work, but there's like a zen quality to it. We're just
yeah, I mean, that's a perfect description of RPGs in general.
Yeah.
It's tedious, but it's meditative.
Yeah. I will say, the quickest thing that I learned is if you can, there's a point in which you can actually adjust the level of stages.
Mm-hmm.
If you can beat the game and get to the point where you can adjust the level of stages, get enough crystals to max out the level of one stage and keep grinding that stage until you get very, very high level gear and then go all the way back to the lowest level just to get through it. It's basically kind of a way to cheese the system.
Yeah. Yeah, that was always kind of the fun thing about classic JRPGs in general is if you were creative enough, you could usually find a way to almost one hit a boss. And I love going on YouTube for Final Fantasy VII, the original in general, because they have their big super mega bosses, after the fact that you can play basically anytime. And this is something that Square Enix used to do that I love, but that they don't really do anymore.
Yeah.
Even the Kingdom Hearts games, they would always have Sephiroth as the final iteration of Sephiroth would be the real like
real
major
big deal
bass.
secret boss.
Yeah. That would be super difficult and really challenging. And then once you beat that boss, it's like, all right, now I'm a badass. You know?
Yeah, the bragging rights boss.
Yeah, and they even had like secret hidden bosses at different stages. Like the one that sticks out is like the Phantom in the clock tower.
Yeah,
for the Peter Pan world or whatever. And those bosses were always super challenging and fun, and like it gave you a reason to like really level up and really like take advantage instead of just plowing through the story and calling it a day.
I'm like remembering my teenage years as you bring this up. It's like, oh my god, I sat through and basically worked through every last bit of that fucking game.
Yeah, and even like the stadium stuff. Like every game needs to have like a stadium arena like mode somewhere. It's just so fun. With an ending. I don't like the ones that are just endless to accrue points.
Yeah.
Like Devil May Cry had like the demon tower or whatever where you just kept fighting.
Oh yeah, every Devil May Cry game now has a like, how far can you go?
Yeah, which is fine, but like I like when there's an end point to it and like you get a little bit of story for your effort and a little bit of like gear for your effort that you can now use for other stuff. But Final Fantasy VII in particular is crazy because of the materia system.
Right.
And there's ways where you can level up certain materias and then combine them in ways that you can do like their super move.
Right.
their breaker move and just hit it one time and it like mimics itself and then repeats itself, and then you can cast reflect on yourself or something and do it to your buddy, and then it projects on all the enemies. Like there are crazy insane ways people have come up with to just like destroy enemies in that game.
Oh yeah,
it's awesome.
I remember like the weapon enemies from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, Emerald weapon, Ruby weapon. Yeah.
Oh yeah, those like the enemies that you basically had to know. There's some shit that it would pass you by if someone either didn't tell you, or you hadn't read it up online or something along those lines. And there's like the secret, like in the know boss type shit.
Yeah.
That shit always fascinated me.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Like it's cool. Like I wish more games did it, to be honest. I really do. And not as DLC. I mean, like strictly, hey, it's in the game. If you find it,
if you're a bad enough dude,
we'll reward you for it.
Yeah.
And you'll have an awesome experience like fighting the secret boss. Like I love secret bosses. I really do.
It's like if you think you're that bad, really test your skills like against this boss over here.
Yeah, no doubt. That I love that stuff, and I wish games would be more creative and like surprise us a little more often with that type of thing. But
From Software, please keep leading the charge on that.
Yeah, I mean that's part of why their games are so fun. You're just walking through an environment and then suddenly this fucking monster that's 12 stories tall is trying to kill you.
Yeah, it's sad that games really aren't built like that anymore.
Yeah.
Or that things that are basically like that have now been relegated behind a paywall called DLC.
Yeah. And then you got Mortal Kombat taking like the fun systems of earning costumes and whatnot away. And now it's a loot box system that you can pay to do faster.
It's like breaking it into piecemeal shit in order for you to like... Like if you commit this much time to the game and we get this much engagement, you'll eventually get all of the pieces to the costume you actually want.
Yeah. Just it's sad.
Yeah.
It makes me sad for my kid.
Yeah, it's monetization is getting more and more gross, unfortunately.
Yep. Well, is that everything you did, watched, played, read?
There is something I watched. A movie. A DC movie.
Oh.
I thought you'd be a little bit more enthused.
Well, we famously called ourselves the Marvel fanboy and Emery and the DC fanboy and myself. And, you know, that's still true. But I know X-Men has hurt you a lot in recent years, and
all of DC has hurt you a lot.
Well, definitely the cinematic end of things. The comics have been fine, although they've made their own mistakes.
Have they?
They haven't been X-Men bad. I'll say that. They've been fine.
Look, a bar lifted an inch off the ground does not a good standard make. Although I will say, there's actually in the current X-Men been movement towards getting rid of the resurrection protocols. Up until they doubled down on it and said, oh, yeah, we can actually kind of use this for humans.
No. Stop. It's like the Dragon Ball Z problem. Deaths aren't meaningful when you can wish them back.
A person's death isn't meaningful when you keep wishing them back. Now, mind you, when I say there has been movement, I should also kind of preface that with these comic books are now actually discussing, is it or is it not kind of shitty and or hypocritical to keep a means of resurrecting the dead all to themselves in terms of the mutants. Even though we already have an example of them doing it for someone who's technically not a mutant with the Scarlet Witch, but then we're getting into a weird, they used
deep,
to be
dark canon that may or may not still be true.
It's like they used to be a mutant, but then they had to go back and say they weren't a mutant, probably because of movie-related bullshit, but now they're kind of connecting, like, the person who's normally known as the father of the Scarlet Witch, and then they're like, okay, but what if we have you go in and get resurrected and say that you killed yourself in order to make mutant heaven for people who are okay with being dead? Because for some reason there's a really fucking long line for those who want to actually be resurrected, or more likely, they need to resurrect the ones that are relevant to the comic line. It's a mess. It's really also weird now, considering the fact that it might be either Giancarlo Esposito, commonly known as Gus Fring from Breaking Bad, or Denzel Washington. That might be Magneto.
Oh.
It's gonna be real weird, considering
we'll see.
That Magneto's typically the daughter of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. And we already have Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, it's concerning. Also, Holocaust survivor. I get it. It's hard to do now because we're many more years removed.
I mean, we're just like, unless you want Ian McKellen to play that in his 90s.
But I feel like it's probably not right to take like the Holocaust survivor character away. And I don't know. It's like a weird narrative, like almost like, especially right now where there's a lot of controversy from like Kanye West and stuff for anti-Semitism and Kyrie Irving. And then, like, you suddenly decide, we don't need to tell this super important social commentary story about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
It doesn't play well, especially in this environment.
These are real sensitive times, and honestly, I would say, at least for the modern day, you could switch maybe either Charles or Magneto.
Yeah, Charles.
Probably not both.
Charles for sure can be swapped. I don't think anybody would raise too big of an issue about Charles being switched. Magneto. It's kind of important to his character. It's the whole reason why his rhetoric is so harsh.
It's kind of important, although like there are like comics purists that can actually point out points in which Magneto wasn't typically a Jewish character up until like a certain point, but then you have to reckon with ever since 2000, everyone has only ever associated the Holocaust with this character.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so analogous to like the story of the X-Men in general, and about how everybody just wants to either quote unquote cure them or kill them.
Right.
You know, so I think it's just too important to the narrative, to the story. I get it. If he was a Holocaust survivor, he'd be in his 80s at this point. And that's pretty old and frail to be the big baddie.
I mean,
but
it's
we're
comics.
We're talking about mutants. You can probably make them live as long as you fucking want to.
Yeah.
You know.
They say it like he's kept alive by magnets.
He's got extra iron in his blood, keeping him refreshed.
Yeah.
He doesn't oxidize because he won't allow the rust to form.
Right. It's like he has those really good genes. Although nowadays, if they were to flip it, they'd say, oh, yeah, he comes from like a different racial tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, you can make him a Uyghur.
You make him a Uyghur Muslim. You could make him a survivor of like the
Rwanda.
Rwanda, like
genocide.
the Tutsi genocide.
Was it Serbian genocide or Armenian? That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
there's other issues for sure.
There's other genocides that if you feel like you have to change them, that they could pull from. Although I think it would be a little on the nose to get the guy who played Malcolm X to play this character who's basically mutant Malcolm X. I think that's a little easy.
I think if Disney is accused of anything, it's of being on the nose. So I wouldn't put it past them. That's fine.
A little on the nose.
All right, you've convinced me. There's enough genocides in recent history that. Okay, we can find another route.
Yeah.
But I feel like taking away the anti-Semitism story character is where you really might have a problem.
I mean, sure, there's a problem. That's before getting to the fact that the kids of Magneto are kind of already here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we already know what the people typically referred to as the children of Magneto look like.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, I'm sure you could make a leap of faith or two, I guess, if you wanted to connect Elizabeth Olsen to Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, it would be a leap.
They're adopted. Yeah, I imagine that they probably won't even acknowledge that they're related.
Almost definitely not.
At least until they do a full, like, actual reboot, which, based on the schedule, probably won't be for another decade. If that.
We'll see. They're trying to fast track X-Men, and they're still trying to figure out the Fantastic Four.
Well, they delayed everything. Like, the director walked off a Blade, and then the next day, everything else was delayed.
Push everything back.
Yeah. And that was right after they announced it, too. Like, we had literally 2 episodes prior talked about their release dates.
Yeah.
and they were all pushed.
It's like, delayed? What? It was like the day of.
I refuse to believe that Blade was so important to the full timeline that they had to delay everything. As much as I love Blade.
Okay, it was so important to not piss off Oscar Award winner Mahershala Ali, who really wants to play the role in his 50s.
How old was Wesley Snipes when he played Blade?
I'm pretty sure he was like maybe 40, maybe like late
I would
30s?
guess in his 40s, but I don't know.
Because he'd been doing stuff in like the late 80s.
Yeah,
like
he was
early
established.
90s. Yeah.
Let's find out real quick.
Yeah.
The internet exists for our benefit.
It does. We can't just look these things up.
So he was 36. So you nailed it.
36. Okay, so he was technically slightly closer to 40 than 30 when he made the first one. And Mahershala Ali is let's just look him up real quick.
All right.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't spell his first name.
okay.
Mahershala. Oh, nailed it.
It didn't take much.
Thanks, Google. Confirmed it. It's spelled phonetically, if you ever have to spell his name. He is currently 48. He's older than Wesley Snipes was for the third movie.
Now, mind you, if they want to somehow rope this in as a sequel to the Blade trilogy, sure. But my God, are you just basically like making that movie off the fact that Mahershala Ali just looks badass in sunglasses?
Sure. But I guarantee you can probably find a cheaper, younger, hungrier black actor to play Blade. And you should.
Oh, you mean like Yahya Abdul-Mateen?
Was he up
The
for
second?
the role? He was up for Green Lantern. I don't know if he still is, but he was up for it.
No, but I'm pretty sure he did just get the job of Wonder Man.
That's right. That's right. I don't even know if I put that in the news. I may have put it in the news, but I don't remember.
Yeah, Yahya Abdul-Mateen the
All right.
second.
So Yahya is not spelled the way you think it is.
Yeah, there's an H in there.
Yeah. He is 36. So yeah, he's he would have
been the perfect one.
He's Wesley Snipes' age for the first Blade.
He would have been perfect if for no other reason than we really don't need another Aquaman movie with
No, please.
with I mean
Obviously we have not seen Aquaman 2.
we haven't.
I don't want to be too critical of what is otherwise a very good actor. His acting is horrible in the first Aquaman movie. It is so bad.
I mean, it's bland as all hell.
I mean,
This man did a better job of playing Dr. Manhattan.
much better.
Yes.
I'm not taking any prestige away from the man. He's a very good actor. But his Aquaman role is terrible. It's delivered. I don't know if it was the director's fault or if it's the production. It could be, but nobody else seemed as uncharismatic and dry and just poorly delivered as his character was in that movie.
It's almost like the character Black Manta was just poorly written from jump.
It was definitely not needed in the movie.
Not even a little.
His contribution is null.
It's like everything going on in that movie, you save that character for a sequel.
Yes.
Straight up.
Yeah,
That's like
absolutely.
the same way you save the Joker for the second Christopher Nolan Batman movie. That's what you do with Black Manta for Aquaman.
Yeah. And I will raise a counter. Despite the age difference, Yahya Abdul-Mateen looks considerably older. He looks a little rough, man.
Okay.
For a 36-year-old.
Now, mind you, I think I would look that rough after being treated the way he was with DC.
Fair. I stand down. You are absolutely correct.
And this is also coming on the back of this man just got a job with Marvel. Apparently, this man's been cast as Wonder Man.
Yeah, it is confirmed. Per Variety, 8 days ago.
Here's my question. Who the fuck was asking for Wonder Man? I mean, yeah, the internet's...
Nobody.
The internet's... poorly conceived community of nerds that like to harp on like the movie and TV version of these characters lacking the purism when it comes to representing what's in the comic books. Let's put that aside for all of the irrelevant or maybe in some cases relevant arguments that they might bring up. Who the fuck was asking for Wonder Man?
Nobody.
Like, of all the places you could have put this guy, you don't put him as Blade?
I mean, we've been... Again, we got to get to the news eventually because we haven't even gotten to what I've done this week.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
But I have to go into one more point.
One more point. Okay.
I think we got to address the elephant in the room. Is Marvel becoming DC?
Ooh.
The movies are getting worse and worse and worse.
Ooh.
They're sniffing their own farts a little too much. They're casting poorly and making very concerning decisions with the direction and the production of these different projects. Obviously, like She-Hulk was kind of a new low.
Now, we can
I have concerns.
We can ask that question, but after the movie I watched, my question is DC finally becoming Marvel?
Is it good? Is Black Adam good? It's okay.
It's okay.
I'll take that.
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
That's the thing.
Okay.
The people behind DC and the people behind The Rock becoming a DC character finally learned how to make a Marvel movie.
Okay. I can take a moderate Marvel performance from a DC movie. Thank you. Yeah, I'm clearly I've been against perpetuating this Snyderverse-esque place and group of characters for a long time because I just want it to die so we can move on to the next thing. And now that James Gunn is in charge, I assume that is the plan to eventually go into the next thing. However, they brought Henry Cavill back.
Yep.
They're hyping up a fight between Superman and Black Adam.
Yep.
With their hidden credit scene.
Uh-huh.
And if they do that, they have to find a way to keep everybody in this canon with these characters and these actors, which I don't want.
I mean, they're kind of doing that.
Fat Bat needs to go, but no, he's in Aquaman 2, so he's not going anywhere. We got Ezra Miller, Flash, who is problematic to say the least.
Just putting it lightly.
We got canceled Green Lantern projects after heavily alluding to Green Lantern.
Although Green Lantern project did just get greenlit, ironically enough.
Featuring Jon Stewart, which is great because I was very afraid of the Guy Gardner direction. You're going to use the worst Green Lantern to try to sustain a franchise.
Like, hey, if they want to make a show about space cops being as terrible as Earth cops, go ahead. Use Guy Gardner.
Yeah, please don't. please don't.
If you want to instill some hope, maybe go with Jon Stewart. I'm partial to Kyle Rayner.
Yeah, Kyle and John are the best ones by far. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Simon Baz is good too. That was kind of the end of the New 52 era where he came along.
Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz are kind of the tail end of what people might recognize.
There are so many goddamn Green Lanterns. There's one per sector.
Oh my!
One per sector.
God, I'm calling the Green Lanterns the Pringles of the fucking.
Try every flavor. I did enjoy what they did in the New 52, where they kind of made like all the extra Green Lantern characters either like spies. Like Guy Gardner obviously has a rage issue, so he goes undercover to like spy on the Red Lanterns basically for the Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah,
and he has to like resist the urge to like be corrupted by the rage. And then you had Kyle Rayner become a White Lantern, which was awesome. Like
yeah, the most creative out of all of them becomes the person with the power to create on a pure level.
Yeah, I think is Green Lantern New Guardians is what it was called.
Yeah,
that book is so good. I loved that book so much.
Watching one man go through the emotional spectrum, it was great, but it was also kind of worrying because it's just like, is he okay? It seems like you're all just pushing Kyle to the brink, and he just
Yeah.
keeps switching colors. And it's like,
I just love that
feel compassion now.
he had to lead this, super group of of various colored lanterns, including the orange lantern, which is a single person.
Larfleas, make me greedy.
Yeah, and it's just amazing having like all these like emotional sex just interacting with each other all the time, and Kyle being the white lantern that has to figure out a way to get them to all like stay together and not fuck everything up. It's so good. It's such a good idea. It's such a good book, and I wish he was still a white lantern.
I mean,
The DC universe was better when Kyle Rayner was a white lantern. Then they had Jon Stewart basically doing all the Earth stuff, and then Hal Jordan was doing the off-Earth stuff.
yeah,
Which I thought worked. And then they had introduced Simon Baz, and Jon Stewart went off and did his own space stuff, and
right.
like it made sense. It worked.
I mean, you could do like a Star Trek style thing where you just have like these anthology tales of space cops.
Yeah. Yeah, so all right. We got to quit ranting about the nonsense that is Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah, God, we could do that all night.
All right, so Black Adam, you liked it?
It was okay. It was aggressively okay.
Well, now you're changing your tune all of a sudden.
Okay,
I was going to go see it.
This is me going back and thinking about it. It's still worth a watch, if for no other reason than it's kind of entertaining watching Pierce Brosnan carry that entire movie.
I love Pierce Brosnan, and I love Dr. Fate. And I thought it was perfect casting. I ranted about this on the last episode, too.
Yeah.
I love that casting. I don't like that they just made everything CG. Like, you couldn't make him a costume, like, even from the neck down to just wear. Like, I've seen the footage of, like, backstage, and he's just wearing this outfit with the little white and black balls everywhere. And, like, just make him a suit. Just make him an outfit. Why is it so hard to just make him an outfit?
Because we don't want to put the old man through all that.
It's so much more expensive to do all that CG on every shot, and so much more labor intensive. Just make an outfit. And like a helmet? You couldn't make a helmet?
Expensive CG. Oh, buddy.
A helmet? You couldn't make a helmet. A helmet. You take some shiny gold spray paint. You spray it on a helmet. And then you cut out some eyes and put some white in there or something. Done.
I will say that they almost, and I think they also kind of do, to an extent, break the issue of the... Oh no, I gotta go back on that. The third act, the third act monster.
All right, don't spoil anything.
Okay,
this is a spoiler-free episode. Okay,
spoiler-free episode for people who want to go watch Black Adam.
Please don't. This is not enough to sell it. And the return of here's the thing that really soured me in the news. I think maybe 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
The Rock was like, I don't like the Shazam movie. I don't want to, I want to fight Superman. That's what we need to do. And I'm like, fuck you. The whole reason your character exists is to be a villain to Shazam. You literally use the same power with the same source. Why wouldn't you clash with Shazam? There's a second Shazam movie coming out soon. Why would you shit on Shazam? Like, not only are you hurting the whole point of your character, but you're also hurting the financial outlook of people trying to sell Shazam too.
Oh,
what are you doing?
That's not what's hurting the outlook financially of that movie the most. It's China. The movie's banned in China.
China. Good. I don't give a fuck. Fuck China. China's the reason why we're getting all these billion-dollar mediocre-ass movies.
You're not wrong.
I don't care.
You're not wrong.
I don't give a fuck. Maybe let's have some principles, Hollywood. If they want to censor your movie, that's up to them. Don't do it for them.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not saying they don't have the right to censor your products, but you don't need their market that bad. You really don't. And if you keep pandering to them, eventually you're going to lose both markets.
Black Adam kind of needs it that bad.
Ugh. Oh, man.
I went to see the movie. I didn't mention that I was maybe one of 5 people in the theater when I saw it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's been leading the box office, but that bar is so low right now. I think they're on track to make like $300 million, which for a movie that expensive, and the way WB just throws money at everything, specifically CG development, like they're probably losing money on it.
Oh, most likely.
Yeah, apparently there's like a magic number it has to get like a sequel approved, but I'm hoping against all hope that it doesn't reach it, so that we can just move on with life and James Gunn can save us and pull us out of the depths of despair. Just
make Marvel over.
Put Shazam 2 out, put Aquaman 2 out if you have to, even with your heavy Amber Heard edits.
And just let the Flash movie.
Let the Flash die.
Let the Flash is coming out. It's gonna come out.
Don't.
It's gonna come out.
We don't need it. Nobody's asking for the Flash movie. Just reboot. You can use the same actors if you want, but you gotta reboot. You have to reboot.
You can't use Ezra Miller again.
I would strongly advise you not to.
They're probably going to use Ezra Miller again.
You can bring back Ray Fisher. You can bring back Henry Cavill. I would argue maybe not Ben Affleck, but that's just me. You know.
Do you want them to use Robert Pattinson instead?
No. No, I don't want Skinny the Cure dressed as a bat. No, thank you. The movie was fine aesthetically. But there's a whole third act of that movie that makes no sense. And that whole movie, The Batman, is perpetuated by Batman's complete lack of self-control. Nothing in that movie would happen if he just used a single ounce of self-control and did not push the button.
I still can't believe he got into the same club through the front door 3 different times when the place clearly has windows at the very least. My God.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. That movie is so dumb. I get it. Aesthetically, it's awesome. It looks cool. It looks moody. Everybody likes a detective angle. We got the Riddler as the main villain, which is awesome. The movie's so dumb. And nothing about it makes logical sense.
The Penguin is getting his own TV show for some reason.
Yeah, again. Got Colin Farrell dressed as an actor that already exists.
You just like Richard Kind is right over here.
All that prosthetics.
And you just made him wear someone else's face.
DC. Even when they do good things, they fuck it up. I just
like doing cocaine comics.
Why? Now they got the musical Joker too. Fully I do. Just fucking blow my brains out, please.
Hot Shots Part 2.
God. It makes me so angry. It doesn't, it's like, at the end of the day, it's just nerd content. They're just making more of it.
They're just making more.
And those who want to enjoy it will enjoy it. It's just dumb fun, turn your brain off, whatever.
We keep paying for it.
But Nolan set such a high standard, which was followed by the MCU, which also set such a high standard, that you can't get away with making shitty superhero content anymore.
Once you know what a good movie that just happens to be a superhero film looks like, it's going to be unavoidable that you are living in the shadow of that.
Yeah.
Unless you somehow raise the bar.
There's no excuse anymore. Why are you bringing Constantine 2 starring Keanu Reeves back? Nobody asked for this. We don't want old man Keanu Reeves playing Constantine.
Doing cocaine.
He's not even British. He's not even British. Doesn't look like him. Doesn't sound like him. Doesn't act like him. Uses a cross gun.
Can we call this one Constantine?
This one I'll permit. And then we can't even get Matt Ryan and Sandman. It just drives me crazy.
I mean, it's all dumb ass rights issues.
DC, get your shit together. James Gunn, save us.
James Gunn send all of DC to rehab.
I need like a Mother Mary style like shrine to James Gunn. I just need to pray to it at this beginning of every episode to save DC.
James Gunn, full of good ideas.
Please save us.
Hallowed be thy films.
Please. All right.
What? Let's get off of all that. We could harp on that all day. What have you done?
Well, let's check the clock. How much should I rush through this? We're an hour in. We haven't even started the news.
Oh boy.
I might have to edit some out. Okay. Well, I have continued playing Horizon Zero Dawn, which I will again go to bat for. This game did not get marketed well enough. This game is fucking awesome. It did not get released in the window it should have been to be most successful, and it's a shame that it's not like a huge release like God of War is this year.
That series got shafted twice.
The game is so fucking good. The world is so interesting. The ideas, the lore they build with just anecdotal stuff that you read and listen to, and environmental storytelling, like they nail it. If there's a weakness, it's that the character to character interaction depth isn't necessarily strong for everybody. There's some, but it beyond Aloy and her father figure and a handful of characters, most of the character interactions are kind of throwaway, whatever. But the storytelling of the world is awesome. The gameplay is super fun, super creative. Like there's nobody else really doing a game like this, and it's just executed so well. Now, I haven't played Forbidden West yet because I'm still finishing Zero Dawn, so hopefully they improved and made it even better. Like my few criticisms are just like every once in a while there's a pop-in, because of how much chaos is going on screen with these huge dinosaur creatures and bird creatures and stuff attacking you all at once, and you're trying to manage all the chaos and use all these crazy weapons. Like, it is fucking awesome. It's so good. So, and if you have the higher PlayStation Plus tiers, it's free, and I think it's even free on the PlayStation Plus collection if you are a PS5 owner, that you can play for free. So they have a catalog of like 20-30 games that come free. They're basically like PS4 titles that you can play on PS5, and you can play for free. Go play it. If you have not played Horizon Zero Dawn, I think it's on PC now too.
Yeah.
Take some time, go play it. It's a long game. It's an action adventure RPG.
You managed to finish this one.
I haven't finished it yet.
Oh, you haven't finished it yet?
I'm still going through it, but I basically completed like all the side stuff, and now I'm just like working my way through the story itself. But it's so good. It's so fun. They don't bog you down with too much unnecessary stuff. There's like collectible, like every game.
Yeah.
Like I give you busy work with collectibles.
Ubisoft checklist.
And it's just an excuse to make you go see the various environments and like get mountain views and stuff like that. But there's like genuine moments where you're like, wow, that's cool. If you don't know anything about the game beyond like, oh, it's like Neolithic style people that are fighting with these machine dinosaur things, and there's weird like religious cults with the tribes and stuff. Like, that's all you need to know going in. Because if I beg you, don't like go watch a bunch of YouTube videos about it or anything. Just go play it, because there is so much there to really sink your teeth into. Game is awesome. Love playing it. My extra game time will probably dry up pretty soon here because I was basically doing the graveyard shift with the baby.
Yeah.
And while I was getting the baby to calm down, go back to sleep after feeding and stuff, I was playing Horizon, and like I was just having so much fun with it. I really was, and I hope I can finish it before I have to go back to work this week to my day job. But it's so good. I can't celebrate it enough. Guerrilla Games really knocked it out of the park. It's so much better than Killzone. Like Killzone was fine, but like Killzone's been dead a long time. Like
there's nothing happening with that.
It's just, a sci-fi shooter. That's, it's cool, but that's it. Like Horizon is unique. Horizon is awesome. It has a female lead. Like there's nothing. I mean, the cast is super diverse. Like there's not a single thing that I think you can honestly criticize about the game. It does everything right. It's awesome. It's really, really awesome, and I highly encourage everybody to play it. But that's all I'll say about that for now. Hopefully I finish it, and I'll give you the final full review next week. But yes, if you are watching, listening, and you have not played Horizon Zero Dawn on PS4, PS5, or PC, please go do yourself a favor and play that game. It is so enjoyable, so cool, especially if you love lore building and really fun, awesome gameplay. And the further you get, the more it rewards you. Like it really is a game that gives you more for the more you put in. So
okay, that's
every bit of effort that you put into it, it will give you twofold. It really does.
I think I'm gonna have to try this game.
It's so good, dude. It's so good. I can't hype it enough. It's the most unique and enjoyable thing I've played in a long time. In a world of samies, EA / Ubisoft style checklist games everywhere.
Yep.
Like
this one stands out.
It really does. It really does. And I think the PS5 or the PS collection is the complete collection too. So you get the DLC, Frozen Wilds, and everything. There are just moments that are so memorable in that game, like first encounters with certain creatures and like certain things. I know it's an old game, but I might want to do a spoiler cast with you once you play the game. It's so good.
Well, you heard it here, folks.
Yeah, definitely go play Horizon Zero Dawn, PS4, PS5, PC. I also went back and finished some more comic series that I hadn't read through. World War Hulk. It's another one of those comic series that started when the event started, and then I just never finished it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty awesome. There's a reason why people love it. I love seeing the Illuminati get punished. They make really questionable decisions. Specifically, Doctor Strange.
Yes, they do.
Makes some poor decisions that really could have ended things really quickly.
He is probably the most... He is either the most or the second most morally dubious character of the Illuminati.
Yeah. He really just... Not only is he morally dubious, he just makes dumb decisions. Like you have him done. He can't do nothing. And then you decide to materialize and let him break your hands. Why did you materialize at all? You didn't need to touch his shoulder and comfort him. You really didn't.
He's trying to have a human moment.
Don't. Bad things happen when you try to have a human moment with the Hulk. And then the other thing that always makes me laugh is Reed Richards getting beat up by the Hulk. I'm like, you're stretchy. What's he gonna do? Stretch you to death? Like, he punches you, you just absorb it. You're like Gumby. Like
the smartest man in all of Marvel Comics, and he didn't follow the very easy precept of Bruce Lee. Be water.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's like of all the characters in the Marvel Comics universe, the one person who should have been the least killable, is somehow getting his ass beat.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was electrocuting him or setting him on fire. No, he was punching him. He's punching an elastic human being.
Maybe he was just standing there taking it because of his guilt.
I guess. It was so like dumb to me. I'm like, why? Just you can't do anything.
Oh, what am I kidding? Reed regrets nothing.
Accurate. Except trying to be in a movie.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think my favorite issue from World War Hulk was honestly the Ghost Rider tie-in.
I didn't read the Ghost Rider tie-in, so maybe I need to.
You should, if for no other reason than, at least for me, it affirms the one thing that I always knew to be true. Ghost Rider is the only living being that can actually outpunch the Hulk.
Nice. Does he penance stare him?
He doesn't, because when Johnny Blaze finally lets the Angel Zarathos take over, he leaves.
Oh, okay.
Because the Hulk is innocent.
Oh. The Illuminati's fucked.
Like my favorite panel is basically in that issue, it's Doctor Strange basically giving the reader the play-by-play of what's happening. And then at the end of it, there's this crater that's left, and it's just Ghost Rider looking up, like face to face, like looking up at the Hulk. And he just rides off.
Nice.
It's like, wait, Strange, what's happening? What's going on? It's like it's a knockdown, drag-out fight. If they keep this up, the entire Earth is gonna be destroyed. And then it just, like, there's this crater, and it stops, and it's like, is Ghost Rider winning? What's happening? It's like, the Ghost Rider's leaving because of what I feared the most. The Angel Zarathos deemed him innocent. Which is like, that's supposed to be the oh shit moment, like the Illuminati, every last one of you is on borrowed time, bitch. It's like,
the Illuminati getting their comeuppance is like some of the most enjoyable things about the Marvel comics. It really is. Like, just across the board, them being shitty people, shitty elitist human, well, somewhat human, I guess.
If there was one person on the Illuminati that I would have thought would have said, absolutely not, we're not doing this, it would have been Charles Xavier.
You would think.
But he goes along with it.
He sure does. He's complicit with his inaction.
He goes along with it. Tony's tired of dealing with Banner's shit.
Yeah. I just love... okay, spoiler alert. I'm gonna spoil some of the end of the comic run for World War Hulk because it's such a like awesome like, here, hold these balls moment where Hulk has them like basically in a fight to the death, like having to battle each other with these control devices.
Yeah.
And then at the last minute, he doesn't kill any of them. He's like, this is just to make a point. Like, this is what I can do. This is what you deserved. And he broadcast it to the whole planet so they know what they did and how shitty they are. That is such like a, hold these balls moment. Like, it's like such a good moment.
I could have mercilessly slaughtered you all. I could have had each of you mercilessly slaughter each other.
Yep.
But because I actually want to have some moral high ground to stand on, I'm just going to expose every last one of you motherfuckers.
Yeah, it's so good. It really, I mean, like I said, there's some goofiness to it. Like,
I mean, it's comics.
It's dumb that Reed Richards is getting punched to death,
It's dumb that Doctor Strange is materializing just so he can get his punch.
Yeah, for no reason. No reason whatsoever. Just, I get what the angle they were going for, but I'm like, Doctor Strange is much more calculating than this. Like, this is not good. This is not good. But other than that, really enjoyable, awesome art. Like, just badass moments all around. Love seeing the Illuminati get their ass kicked. Like,
it's like I want to have something to say about Black Bolt being involved, But not even Black Bolt has something to say about Black Bolt being involved.
Yeah. And he's the first one to get just fucking wrecked.
Yes. He gets wharfed real quick.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you want to see how powerful the fucking Hulk is? Black Bolt's speech. Like, he says one word and you are dust.
Yep.
Except for the Hulk, because the Hulk is like,
it's just such a
if
I'm
I'm
badass moment where he does his speech
yeah,
to try to blow him away, and Hulk goes, "You better yell this time." I'm like, oh shit, you are fucked. Yeah. Meanwhile, MCU Hulk, can't even convert himself when he wants to, and then he becomes Buddy Hulk for no apparent reason.
Buddy Hulkalo.
He's so neutered in the MCU. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. Another comic I caught up with was Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. So all these like Marvel zombies and so kills, blah blah blah. I just know. I'm like, I don't have time. If it's not like main canon, I don't care. But I found the time, obviously with the graveyard shift with the baby. So
yeah,
I read Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe, and it's fine. I mean, there's some big leaps in logic in how he, takes on some of these heroes and villains, and just like, I don't think that would work. I don't know about that. That's a big logical leap for Frank Castle to take down Spider-Man and, Captain America and all these big hitters, Hulk, don't know about that one. Story wasn't great. Justification wasn't great. It was fine.
I don't want to mention what they've done to Frank Castle now.
Well, I know he was a symbiote for a while, and then he was in space for a while.
He flies now.
What?
He can fly now.
Why?
I don't know.
That's
for some reason
that's the whole point of his character.
Is that he has no powers. Yeah, I know. It was a little weird them painting a frame of him like not standing on anything in the air with his classic long black trench coat and all, just casually holding Daredevil by his neck.
Did they put footy wings on his white boots? Please say yes.
No, that would have made more sense. I'm worried about Namor. Oh, no. Namor. Because they've gone out of the way
Constantine.
Get son of a...
I just like how they're all trying to school us in pronunciations that have been going on for generations now. Good luck.
Like my enemies call me Namor. Are you sure they wouldn't call you Namor just to piss you off?
I would. Oh, look, what do we got here? Mr. Namor.
What's that there Namor fella doing? Is that there a jade spike through your nose? What are you, one of them Gen Z heroes? How many piercings do you need?
Boy, I don't think you should be wearing those tight Speedos on this beach.
Back in my day...
We have principles here.
Back in my day, if you were a half-naked superhero, you had the good sense to have steroids in your system so that I didn't have to see any rolls looking at your back.
I still love that The Rock called him fat. Rock said he was pudgy. That's amazing.
The most sauced man in the world.
It cracks me up. Oh, man.
Are we sure we're not going to go with Namor as what his enemies call him?
I don't give a fuck. I'm calling him Namor. That's what I've called him for 30 years. He's Namor. And then the other comic, the last thing I did, I read was the Batman Who Laughs individual story.
Oh no!
With I think Greg Capullo did the art again with DC. Aesthetically, it's cool.
How the hell does he see through that thing?
It's dark metal.
Son of a...
And not only can he see through it, but Batman makes his own to fight him.
I'm going to flip every table in the universe.
So they have their spiky Geordie LaForge visors on that they can magically see through because it's 10th metal from the Dark Universe. Not to be confused with nth metal.
DC, go home. You're drunk.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking 10th metal.
Yeah, and the story has another like nonsensical Joker team up. I hate when they do this. Joker is the one villain you should not have teaming up with the hero ever.
If
Ever.
there was ever a character in which teaming up with a hero would be antithetical to that character's entire existence, it would be the Joker, because
Yeah.
the Joker would laugh at everything that the hero would try and fail to do.
Yeah, and it's minor spoilers because it's dated now.
Yeah.
But part of the crux of the story is that Bruce Wayne decides that the only way he's going to be able to figure out how to beat the Batman who laughs is by having the Joker inject his serum into him so he can go crazy and see the world the way the Batman who laughs does, but somehow resist it with sheer willpower in a way that the Batman who laughs could not in his universe.
This sounds like something Nicolas Cage would come up with.
It's so dumb. I mean, there's, again, aesthetically, there's really cool moments, like just artistically, but narratively, you're like, why? Why are you doing this?
The only thing that's
Stop
preventing that from becoming face-off is if the Batman who laughs decided to defeat the Batman by getting rid of his laugh and becoming the Batman.
Yeah. It's so silly. It really is.
It's real dumb.
It's real dumb.
It's real dumb, guys.
It's real dumb. Yeah. So,
DC, you have had enough cocaine.
yeah, and I want to give Snyder some credit because he did such a great job in the New 52 with him and Greg Capullo with their interpretation of Batman and the creation of the Court of Owls and all those things.
Bad ideas are still bad ideas.
Fuck, his events are so bad. His like universe crushing events are so bad.
Oh,
Yeah, not great.
give me
Blackest Day, it was not.
Give me Blackest Day or something as deeply personal as
Flashpoint.
Identity Crisis.
Yeah, Identity Crisis, Flashpoint, like those are good crises.
Yes.
No, the oh God, I hate even talking about it. Dark Knight's Metal.
And now we're going through Dark Crisis.
Oh, all of that stuff sucks. Like I the only good thing that came out of it was the new characters they created that they immediately gave up on once they killed the New 52. So,
Yep. They tried to do their own Marvel.
Brimstone was cool. Sideways, despite the terrible name, was cool.
There's a Ghost Rider. There's a Spider-Man.
What was it Tracer?
Silencer.
Silencer. That's
Silencer was the one original one.
Silencer
Like,
was cool.
Silencer. Oh my God.
I hated John Romita Jr.'s art though.
Blocky as all hell.
Oh,
yeah.
it's so bad.
Ugh.
I get it. It's iconic because it's his father was an artistic hero in the comics universe, and
It's bad.
he has some iconic art.
Just say it's bad.
But it's bad. It's
It-
bad. It doesn't work for everything.
I don't need you to start with a protractor and then slowly add curves to these boxy lines you've clearly got.
Yeah, and I'm talking shit. From as low as you can go. Like I can draw cartoon characters. That's about it. I cannot draw comic book level art at all. But yeah, I do not like his art style. I didn't like his Superman run. Really didn't like his Silencer run. The art was just so subpar. You couldn't even tell what was going on because everybody has the same square head and the same square body. And just like when there's fight scenes going on, you have no idea what's going on because everybody looks exactly the same.
Everyone's got that same fucking pose that he does.
Yeah. So All right, ran over. That's all I read. That's all I watched. That's all I listened to. I'm sure there's other things I'm forgetting, but we're like an hour and a half in, so we should probably move on.
Yeah, okay, yeah, let's get to what's relevant and current in the world of all things nerdy.
And of course, we are currently breaking down each segment into individual digestible segments, so we can post those on the YouTube channel as well. So if for some reason you're just looking for a specific type of news, whether it's video game, tech news, movies and TV, whatever, you soon will be able to find those things individually on our channel without having to go through the full 2-hour, 3-hour podcast. So hopefully that makes it more fun and easier to digest for you. It will certainly make it easier for us to share on social media and stuff. So definitely look out for that. All right, first up, we're talking video game news. Now, usually I try to keep everything together, but there's quite a few things, so I apologize if we jump around a little bit. So CD Projekt's new Witcher trilogy has announced it will have a new director. The lead animator from The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 will now be taking the lead on the new Witcher saga. They did confirm that the new Witcher saga will be a 3-part series, much like The Witcher 1, 2, and 3, with Geralt was a 3-part series, of course. But there's one thing that's weird about this. It's that the Gwent director, Jason Slama, was supposed to be directing The Witcher 4, and he's even still listed on his bio on social media as being the director of Witcher 4. But clearly that's not the case anymore. So thought that was interesting. I wonder if there's some inner turmoil going on.
I mean, after what happened with Cyberpunk like 2 years ago now, it would only make sense that there's probably some kind of shakeup happening.
And I also wonder if maybe they're just like sending him to handle the remake of the first Witcher game. Maybe they're like, hey, why don't you prioritize this card game guy?
Hey, as long as the remake is anywhere like close to what they did with The Witcher 3, I can finally actually go through and play the first Witcher game, because oh my god, is that first one nearly unplayable.
Yeah, the mechanics are rough. They're really rough.
Talk about a point and click adventure.
Yeah. And then some other interesting news that came out of CD Projekt Red. They said that they are also developing a multiplayer Witcher game at their sub-studio, The Molasses Flood. And they are also in development of a Cyberpunk 2077 sequel. So, definitely keep track of CD Projekt Red. It seems like they're growing a lot. The fact that they have multiple big games in development, which is a first.
I mean, that's a pretty good sign that whatever happened, this company is still seeing their way through, despite all of the, well, to be quite honest, controversy. And unfortunately, well-deserved.
Yep. So, we'll see. I have a lot of faith in CD Projekt Red in general, despite their issues they had with the release of Cyberpunk 2077. But I really do look forward to getting more of the Witcher universe, quite frankly, because Netflix doesn't know what the fuck they're doing with the Witcher universe, and I want more of the Witcher universe. And, Sapkowski has released one new book, which was prequel stories in the past, 15 years, I think. So I doubt we're getting more literature in any significant way, and we're certainly not getting a good Netflix iteration, unfortunately, despite Henry Cavill being perfect for the role.
And it's kind of a one or the other for him. Yeah,
and then even Dandelion is perfect in that role. Like they have decent casting, I think, for the big three, but I think everybody else is cast terribly. Oh, really terribly. And then the writers are self-pronounced haters of the original books, which is like, why are you even on the team? Why are you writing this? To which Henry Cavill is openly criticizing the show for. And it makes all the sense in the world now why it was so chaotic that first season, and why they're just not even bothering to try to be canon accurate anymore. Yeah. We'll get to more of that in the news, though.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
So yeah, give me more games from CD Projekt Red, because they're the only ones I trust at this point. I would love, you know how they're doing like the Hogwarts video game coming up very
Hogwarts
soon,
Legacy.
which is like late 1800s, totally unrelated to Harry Potter itself, you know, because it comes long before Harry Potter. It's just like choose your own adventure type Hogwarts story. I want that from The Witcher. I want like a Witcher game where like you start in, you know, Kaer Morhen being converted into a Witcher, and then you go on your journey, and it's like totally unrelated to the rest of the stuff. It's just like a brand new thing. It can, I think it probably has to be a prequel to, you know, Geralt's age. So
If you're gonna do a prequel, that'd be a good reason to do a Vesemir game.
yeah, if you wanted to make it a very specific character, you absolutely could do that.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be cool if you could like choose your house, maybe like even like, choose a Witcher clan,
I
or
think
even like maybe choose to be like a mage or a Witcher or just like a soldier.
that seems far more suited to like an MMO type experience.
Sure.
If you're-
Well, they're making a multiplayer,
Yeah,
so they certainly could do it there.
yeah, they could. If you're wanting something more like heavily like story focused, given that there's already an animated season of The Witcher where Vesemir was the focus,
Yeah.
you could, if you wanted to, spin an entire game basically around that story and just add a bunch of missions where he's fighting different monsters.
Yeah. There's a lot of meat on that bone. Like The
Oh,
Witcher
yeah.
has a lot going for it.
It does.
If somebody smart and respectful of the material wants to take advantage of it, which Netflix has not, unfortunately, but I think CD Projekt Red has universally been applauded for how they've handled The Witcher and the storytelling, and
For
the
sure.
world building. So definitely looking forward to that from CD Projekt Red. Next up in the news, this is more of the movie segment, so we'll push this way down here somewhere. Next up, we have an announced date for Atomic Heart, the video game that was announced at Gamescom. It will be coming on February 21st, 2023. Really shows this crazy, fast-paced gameplay set in the Soviet era, coming from developer Mudfish and Focus Entertainment. They did also confirm that it will be on PC, PlayStation 5, the Xbox, PS4, and Xbox One, and it will be on Game Pass in February. Really looks cool, looks unique. A little bummed that it's on past gen platforms because, again, we're just holding everything back, and we're so deep into this generation. It's like, why are we still holding these games back?
Yeah,
I get that they want to reach a bigger audience, but like, there's enough out there now that it shouldn't be a problem. It's going to be later in the news, but PlayStation crossed 25 million sold. I'm sure Xbox is somewhere in the same realm. There's no reason why we're holding these platforms back anymore.
Yeah, not at this point.
PlayStation VR 2 has announced a release date and a price. It's a little more aggressive than a lot of people thought. It will be officially released on February 22nd, 2023, and is priced in North America at $549.99. Pre-orders will be available on November 15th. Again, we talked about in the past that they will not have cross compatibility with the PSVR 1 games unless the developers choose to
Like
redevelop them from the ground up, basically, for
Yeah.
the new control systems, because they're not using the camera system and the light system anymore. Now it's actually,
Yeah, this is basically the PlayStation version of the Oculus. Straight up.
yeah, which I kind of wonder about the timing of this price announcement, because Meta announced their Oculus Pro, which is $1,600. $1,600, dude, for a headset.
Okay, on a scale of like Virtual Boy to like Ready Player One, what are we dealing with in terms of the Oculus Pro?
Well, here's the deal. We went through the specs of I think Oculus 2 is the most recent iteration.
Yeah.
Before Pro. And they announced the Oculus 3 shortly after that, which is more reasonably priced, around like basically around the same price as the PSVR 2. Yeah. However, the Oculus Pro, the upgrade is so marginal because you got to it's like all tech.
Yeah.
Like once you get to a certain point, anything beyond that point is going to be exponentially more expensive for less and less return.
Right.
It's true for chipsets, it's true for GPUs, CPUs, fast RAM, all of this stuff, super fast, high capacity SSDs, like all of the stuff just gets dramatically more expensive, and you get way less in terms of the gap between the previous stage or the next tier. And I think that's what's going on here with the Oculus Pro from Facebook. It'll come up later in the news, so I won't harp on it too much, but man, they're making some terrible business decisions. Terrible. You just and I feel like PlayStation felt more bold about releasing this very high price point for their VR system
right after hearing what the Pro was going to go for. Yeah,
exactly. And the whole appeal of the PlayStation VR 1 is that it's reasonably priced. It was probably the cheapest like pro level VR headset that you could get, probably arguably the most comfortable, had a good ecosystem of games, and you didn't have to have some super high powered PC to power it because your PS4 powered it.
Yeah.
And so that saved cost too, because you didn't have to have like a bunch of CPU, GPU processing on the headset itself like the Oculus does, because the Oculus is largely standalone. And that's kind of what kept the price point down. Now you have to have a PS5, which is $500, $50 less than the accessory for the PS5.
Sweet Jesus.
And then you have to have the PSVR 2, which thankfully does come with the 2 controllers. So I guess they have an argument there, whereas PSVR 1 didn't come with controllers. You had to buy those stupid,
the PlayStation Move controls separately.
The super old PlayStation Move controls.
God, I still remember getting those for the fucking PS3.
Yeah. And, obviously there's reduced cost because of all that stuff. And I get it. This is like high-end technology. We went over the specs. They have a high refresh rate, high resolution, really large field of view compared to their competitors currently. Obviously, that's going to change with Oculus 3 and Oculus Pro if you have $1,600 spare dollars.
Right.
But it is still wired, so it's not like there's like high-speed Bluetooth connectivity or something on there processing. The PS5 does all the processing for you, which you already spent $500 for. I get that it has the 3D audio, but every PlayStation headset has 3D audio now. It's not like unique anymore, and it's mostly done by the software, not the hardware. The haptics are awesome. I don't want to take anything away from their hardware development team. The haptics and the controllers are amazing. Like, they really do change significantly the experience on games that utilize them.
Yeah.
But $550? It's like $50 more than the PS5. No one's going to buy this except the super wealthy.
It's like they almost tricked everyone into buying the first half of this whole system.
Yes.
On fucking layaway.
So they're like, hey, come buy our $550 VR system that is more expensive than all our competitors on the market except for the Oculus Pro, which is ridiculous.
And that's under the assumption that you already have a PS5. Otherwise, in order for this whole thing to fucking work, you'd be paying $1,049.99.
Oh, and by the way, that huge catalog of VR games on your VR 1, can't play them.
Can't play them.
Here's 20 new games you gotta buy.
I would definitely hope that by the time this thing actually launches, that some of those old games get like if you already bought it for the original PSVR, then we're gonna we're going to throw you a bone. We're going to let you say, just upgrade to the PS5 version or the PSVR 2 version.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh no, we're going to make you buy this again for like the second time because that's not already endemic of the current gaming landscape today.
Yeah, I mean, this reeks of PlayStation 3 era launch.
Oh.
This reeks of that executive team. And I guarantee you there's somebody from that era in Sony, because they're religiously loyal to these companies they work for.
Yeah.
I guarantee there's somebody in those executive headquarters that was like, oh, I kind of hear Facebook's going to release this big expensive thing. Let's just go all out, I have a feeling that somebody wants to kill the VR headset more than anything. And they're just like, let's make this absurdly priced so we don't lose money on it.
It's like either they want it to be dead or they want to corner the market on it.
Yeah, and arguably, based on the sales numbers, the PSVR 1 was super successful. I just don't understand why they wouldn't continue their success, with a smart business approach and robust support. I mean, obviously, they went more in the direction of Oculus and what's the other one?
The other big one. HTC V.
The Vibe, yeah. They made them more approachable from those standpoints, but the cost is just ridiculous. And it's not wireless either,
it's hard to see this as anything other than just cost prohibitive.
Yeah, so I think they're putting themselves in a corner. They don't have enough of an ecosystem because of the lack of cross compatibility with old games.
I think what's really going to drive whether or not that $549.99 price tag is going to be how many people actually pre-order the damn thing.
We will see.
If no one pre-orders the damn thing, I'm almost certain that they will knock maybe 50, maybe 100 off of the final price tag. But
it's not like Sony to discount things, at least for a few years. They discount games all the time.
That's true.
They're really good with games. Really bad about hardware. Controllers stay $60, $70 for the lifetime of the system, and sometimes well after the lifetime. Like even PS4 controllers are still expensive.
I hate how true that is.
So I'm worried. I think it's safe to say I was very excited for their next step because I thought the first step was like a really good first attempt, and it built a loyal brand and an ecosystem. And this
kind of helped put VR on the map.
Yeah. And to the common man, outside of the like elite PC Master Race exclusive, but now they'd made it like an elite niche group of PS5 owners, that can afford both a $500 PS5, acquire a PS5, and spend another $550 on a advanced VR headset. So with 20 games.
This is an 8-way treadmill away from being for like the elite of elites.
Yeah. So very, very disappointing on that price point. I'm excited for the specs and the hardware and the application to the PS5 ecosystem itself. I'm glad that they're making a second iteration because it's not unlike Sony to just give up on something after a first attempt, even successful stuff. But yeah, I don't have a lot of hope for this one.
We'll have to see how it turns out.
Next up on the news, the Callisto Protocol, the Dead Space spiritual successor, has been canceled in Japan because it is so gory that they are...
Too gory for Japan?
Too gory for Japan.
What?
It has been completely canceled.
I didn't think that was possible.
Following a dispute from developer Striking Distance Studios and the Japanese Ratings Board.
Oh my god.
This is being reported by PC Gamer, so shout out to them. They announced on Twitter that the current version of Callisto Protocol, particularly a very particular gory and violent horror game, cannot pass their computer entertainment rating organization called Zero in its current format, and they don't want to alter the game because they believe it would ruin the vision. So, if you are in Japan, Unfortunately, you will not get to enjoy the spiritual successor of Dead Space 2. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said Dead Space 2. The spiritual successor of Dead Space in general. Really weird that this is the line they draw in the sand for Dead Space. I mean, it's gory. It's crazy. But, I mean, is it really any more gory and crazy than God of War has been, or the past Dead Space games have been, or Elden Ring? Like,
Okay, to all of Japan, I'm going to kind of steal something from a very recent Weird Al tweet. And I'm going to say there's VPN, which would stand for, in this case, very probably no way that you're going to get this game in any of the Japanese prefectures. And I'm sure that everyone who's looking forward to that game has a torrent of questions that you're probably wanting to ask the developers of this game. But for the foreseeable future, I don't know how you're going to get it, but I'm sure where there's a will, there's a way. Sometimes you have to take what you can and give nothing back.
yeah. It's a bummer. I feel bad for the Japanese audience. It's like, I get it if you want to put like an adult rating on it or make it harder to purchase for kids and stuff. Don't just ban it outright. Like, what are you doing?
Just come up with the rating for the game that is accurate and say...
Allow them to make an educated decision.
Hey, if we want to actually implement an adults-only rating...
Yeah.
Then fucking implement an adults-only rating.
Why aren't they doing this to, like, their horror movies? Like, I've seen Japanese horror movies. They're fucking disgusting. Like, why is this where you're drawing the line? It's something about this just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, it's very curious, to say the least.
Video game is going to be the point where we draw the line.
Yeah.
A very fake-looking video game. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, for those of you who really want it, I'm not going to suggest anyone sail the 7 seas, but...
I mean, you can get, like, region unlocked systems. Maybe do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, and here's a trick that I learned for downloading Japanese games. When you first get a system, one of the first things that you do is you put your account on that. Just make an American account.
Nailed it.
Nailed it in one.
They have language settings. Just change them.
They do have language settings, as long as you put in, honestly, just an American zip code. That just puts you in the American, like, download market for, like, anything PlayStation.
Yeah, do it. But yeah, that sucks. That really sucks.
Yeah, that's...
like, you have to go through all this extra effort. Imagine if you're just like a die-hard Dead Space fan. You love the series. You've been waiting for a return to the series in some way, shape, or form all this time, and this is what they do to you.
Yeah.
The fucking, moral regulations board in Japan says, fuck you, you can't play it.
Hey, I was that American weeb who was playing Phantasy Star Online 2, a Japan-only game for, like, the longest time up until maybe last year.
Yeah, but that wasn't because America banned it.
It wasn't because America banned it.
Because it was expensive to import, and they just didn't want to do it.
It was expensive to import, and also the company hadn't had the money to basically spring for English voice acting.
Yeah.
That was a lot of it.
Yep. So disappointing. Hopefully that gets resolved in a positive way in the near future, but it seems doubtful.
Yeah.
Next up, PlayStation's London studio is working on a co-op action game set in a fantasy UK environment. It is leaving peripherals and VR behind for this project, so it will not be on the new VR2, which was largely expected. London Studio has largely been doing like iToy stuff and Wonderbook and PlayStation Move stuff for a long time, so it was long expected that they would be doing the next big VR game. But hey, they're taking an approach to a brand new co-op game, which again is pretty interesting that they're developing a main co-op game that is not going to be a VR game. So definitely cool. I like it when these studios get a chance to make something unique, because that's usually how you end up with great games like Ghost of Tsushima or Horizon or Killzone, etc.
Yeah, that innovation, while difficult, is usually the most worthwhile.
Yeah, and I know this isn't the I don't think this is the same London studio that Sony had, but The Getaway is due for at least a return. I don't know if you ever played The Getaway.
I remember seeing like advertisements for that game.
Yeah, it was basically like a British Grand Theft Auto.
I think the other game that they had made, Blood and Truth, also kind of seems like that, but with like actual actors.
Yeah.
I never got to play that either, but they both looked very enticing.
The Getaway was cool. It was really like, it was rough around the edges even at the time, because like GTA already existed.
Yeah.
And had much better controls, which is laughable now. But and was much more of a true open world, whereas The Getaway was a little bit more of a, like, it feels like an open world, it looks like an open world, but if you really try to push the boundaries, it's not. And a given story section.
Yeah.
But it was really cool, really solid, really fun. It's cool just to see like a gangster game that's not Yakuza or American mob based,
It's not just the Japanese and Italians all the time, guys.
Yeah. So it's just refreshing, and I like seeing stuff come out of the UK that's unique. I think the last big UK release we got was Drive Club, and that went horrendously. So
yeah, no.
Yeah.
Let's not revisit that one.
Moving on. Next up on the news, Marvel and EA sign a 3-game deal, starting with the previously discussed Iron Man video game, which will be a major title coming from EA. The first game, Iron Man, will be coming from EA Motive, the sub-studio within the greater organization known as EA Games, of course. It's interesting that there's all of these Marvel deals going on, because we had the Square Enix Marvel deals, which obviously didn't go quite as planned.
You mean
with
the Square Enix Marvel deal.
Well,
we
Marvel
know
Avengers.
we know how that ended up.
And then we have obviously the PlayStation exclusive Spider-Man and Wolverine.
Spider-Man, we have a game. 2 games. It's hard to screw up Spider-Man because Spider-Man has become so refined over time that it's... what the game takes. All you have to do is like craft the story, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
They were just fortunate enough to craft a very well-told story that rivals every single one of the movies that came out.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. They have been handling a lot of the Star Wars, third-party stuff for a while, for better or worse. We'll see how it goes. But I have faith that it'll be playable. Like, it won't be atrocious like Avengers kind of was.
Oh, imagine being at Square Enix, knowing that you crapped the bed so hard that they gave it to EA.
Absolutely.
One of the...
Absolutely. You fucked up.
Now, mind you, while Square Enix screwed up Avengers, EA screwed up like one of the biggest games that they were like touting for like the longest time, which was basically an Iron Man game called Anthem.
Yep. That's fair, dog.
I think what's going to be curious is how much of this Iron Man game is basically going to be reskinned Anthem.
I mean, they have the assets. You might as well use them. I'm interested to see what they do with the other 2 games.
Yeah.
What's kind of a bummer for me, and I get it with video games, they're so expensive to build and create that it's hard to give any single creator all of the power to create,
right,
or
the
united
credit.
Marvel universe in a video game form. It's a bummer that they're spread out across all these different creators. You got the Square Enix universe, now you got the EA universe, and you have the exclusive PlayStation universe with these different Marvel characters. That's kind of a bummer because, now you're probably never going to see a crossover, even if they are all good,
I actually have to defend Square Enix. Yes, they screwed up with the Avengers, but they fucking nailed the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I totally forgot. That's another one. Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's like, oh my god, let me just shit on Square Enix real quick. No, I can't in good faith do that, knowing full well that I never thought a Guardians of the Galaxy game would work, but they fucking nailed it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Spider-Man and the Miles Morales expansion of Spider-Man is great. Wolverine is probably going to be very good.
Wolverine should be difficult to screw up.
You would hope. I have a lot of faith in Sony because they've earned it, but with their exclusive titles. But yeah, I can foresee a world where they fuck it up. Or make it a VR game.
Oh no! Oh no! I mean,
look at my claws.
It's like, hey, just pull on the trigger. Claws come out.
Yeah. Squeeze it. Just imagine seeing dads across the country being filmed in their living room going like this.
Oh no! Oh no!
There's you need a salad chopping mini game in the middle of it, just cutting heads of lettuce with your claws. Just a lot of this.
Oh my god! Just imagine if they made a Star Wars VR game.
There's gonna be so much carpal tunnel.
But a Star Wars VR game where you are the Jedi, but you're just doing this with the lightsaber.
Oh man, I wonder how many televisions are gonna get broken.
All of them.
Oh
my god.
I guess if you got a VR headset, you don't really need a TV anymore, right?
I mean, yeah. It's I remember growing up and being told, don't sit so close, you'll go blind.
now we're strapping it to our eyeballs.
Oh,
love it.
It was a different time back then.
Next up on the news, this is stuff we already covered a little bit. PlayStation 5 has passed 25 million units sold. However, Sony is producing many more than expected, and you should see some supply chain relief here in the near future. I know a lot of places already are starting to have 1 or 2 on the shelves. So
it's I wonder how many scalpers are slowly starting to realize, yeah, this might have been a bad investment over time.
Yeah. Yeah, I would if I was a scalper, I wouldn't have kept doing it. Do it at the beginning and then stop.
Right.
Because eventually it will dry up.
Eventually.
But yeah, it looks like they are well ahead of its target of selling 18 million consoles by March of 2023. It's still selling at a record pace despite the supply chain issues they've had up until this point. So really surprising, really cool, really good news for Sony themselves. And it's great to see that their supply chain is getting a lot of relief. I imagine a lot of it's coming from Samsung coming out of its COVID lockdowns, more or less, although they keep locking down randomly. I work in logistics. It's the only reason I know this stuff.
Yeah.
So I know Shanghai in particular really fucks up the supply chain because so much is made in Shanghai, particularly tech parts.
So, yeah.
That's been a big bottleneck, but I think a lot of the tech companies are moving their factories to other locations like Taiwan, I know there's one in Vietnam that opened. The United States, here in Ohio, we're getting an Intel factory right next to Columbus here, northeast of Columbus. So they're starting to not be so reliant on one specific city and one specific country, which should relieve a lot of that supply chain strain. I'm combining all the words at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, really cool. Great for Sony. I'm sure they're really proud of that. They've been profitable for a while. They have God of War Ragnarok coming out, which is getting reviewed very well. I'm seeing a lot of 10s and 9.5s and crazy numbers that, it's hard to live up to a masterpiece with the first one. And it sounds like they may have succeeded. So
yeah, when they're still at the top. And I'm worried about the one that's going to come after because, I mean, when you're at the top like that, the only place to go is down.
Yeah, and it's very easy, as we've seen from PlayStation and Sony in the past, to go down.
Yeah, I remember God of War 3.
It happens quick.
Yeah, it was like, if God of War 3 is any indication, I foresee... Well, all of Valhalla and all of Midgard is probably going to get irreparably fucked up.
Yep. So, well, it's awesome that it's getting reviewed so well. It gives me a lot of faith that the game's going to be great as expected. They're kind of lucky because a lot of the other big releases for the holiday season have been underwhelming for a lot of people. Like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is expected to be a huge game, but it's getting kind of poorly reviewed, at least for the revamped systems and stuff. I give them a lot of credit. Activision took a risk to revamp the system. It's a system that's 15 years old at this point that they were just recycling and putting back out in a slightly higher definition, So I give them a lot of credit for taking a chance. They probably shouldn't have done it at first with their biggest branch of their franchise. They probably should have done it with like Cold War or something like that. That's a little bit lesser known.
Yeah.
Or maybe like their historical, like the Vanguard game they had prior to this. They probably should have started with that one if they were going to revamp the systems and then work out the kinks and then have the refined version for Modern Warfare.
I mean, add Activision to the list of companies that are guilty for re-churning out old product.
Yeah. So I give them a lot of credit for finally taking the next step. It took them forever, but they finally did it. And now that they have done it, all they have to do is polish it up and then they're good. But unfortunately, it's hurting probably their most famous franchise. It doesn't hurt their sales. They're still selling $1 billion worth of the games, but
progress is slow and painful sometimes.
Yeah. But, as you can see, the holiday season, there's not a whole lot because a lot of stuff got pushed to early, Q1 of next year, late Q4.
Very rarely are things pushed to an earlier release.
Speaking of things coming out in Q1 of next year, Sony has announced 11 new PlayStation VR games that will be launch or near launch titles for the VR2. The big headliner, of course, is the Dark Pictures Switchback, which is the Cage horror series.
Oh, yeah.
It's not literally a Cage game, but it's basically in that style.
Oh, yeah, the Dark Pictures anthology.
Yep.
Yeah. If there's one thing...
It's made by the Until Dawn studio.
Yeah, if there's one thing that always trips me out, it's seeing the covers of these games and recognizing the very uncanny valley models of, like, actual, like, Hollywood actors. Like, that's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird looking.
The one thing I don't like is that they're doing what they did with Until Dawn. Which Until Dawn was an awesome, like, it's like a corny horror movie with, like, legitimate actors and actresses playing these roles. Really great graphics, really fun storytelling, environmental, and much, much faster paced than a Cage game.
Yeah.
They don't have you sitting there twirling the stick slowly to dance with your kid or play catch, stupid shit like that. Like it's
swiping slowly on the touchpad to shave your face.
Yeah, it's like stuff that actually matters.
Right.
But when they released the original PSVR, they released Until Dawn. I can't remember what it was called, but it was basically like a circus roller coaster horror shooter game, which is just the worst. I hate that in VR. Like, it's a huge VR trope. Like arcade VR.
Literally put you on rails.
To put you on rails and have just like light gun style shooting with stupid shit. That's what this is. I mean, obviously there's more to it than I'm giving it credit for, but I hate rail shooters. they just suck. That's not going to sell your system. Please do better. Just let us move around.
Just weirdly,
you just need a refresh rate that can keep up to keep people from being sick. The reason people get sick is because the refresh rate sucks. You need like a high frame rate and a high refresh rate, and then it alleviates a lot of the nausea people get from VR.
Yeah, that's yeah. We'll just have to see how it works out. When it comes to games like that, I think one of the things that really pushes the game forward is replayability, which games like Until Dawn were known for because they had so many endings. And I think that's what's going to be interesting is with a game like that being VR, how much replayability is it going to have?
I mean, you would imagine a lot if you take like different paths and you have different objects to interact with, different puzzles to solve, like
which would beg the question, how on rails is it gonna be?
I mean, it's like, again, the thing that like really chaps my ass is Resident Evil already did it right.
Right.
You already have a perfect example of how to do it. Just copy them. Like, it's not a big deal.
Like having a moving mechanic. It really shouldn't be that hard.
Even Walking Dead has like a very simplified version, but they have like basically a semi-open world environment with zombies, and you just navigate it and do what you got to do to complete the story. Like, why can't you do that?
Oh my god! Could you imagine?
Hate real shooters.
Could you imagine like The Last of Us but VR?
Oh, it'd be fucking awesome. You know how fucking horrifying that would be? Just having a clicker like right in your face.
Like
fuck.
Okay.
You could do the sex scene from Last of Us 2.
Oh no!
Just raw dogging from the back.
Oh no!
That game's ridiculous.
You know what would be bad in VR? Being Joel in The Last of Us 2.
Let's not talk about it.
Yeah, let's not talk about it. It still hurts.
We don't have enough clock left.
It still hurts.
Some other games that are announced for the VR2 are Crossfire Sierra Squad, which is a first-person shooter from Smilegate, which will cast players as the leader of a fire team placed in the, quote, middle of a war over a top-secret biochemical weapon that has been recently discovered. The Light Brigade from Funktronics Labs is a single-player roguelike that is, quote, filled with immersive gunplay and a moody mystery. The world is losing all the light it has left, and you are the one last people still fighting against an ever-growing darkness.
So more different Returnal?
Maybe? Maybe? Cities VR Enhanced Edition. So this is obviously a third-party crossover from Fast Travel Games, is an adaptation of City Skylines, which is a pretty old game at this point. The VR title aims to let players manage and build their city of their dreams in VR, so in a big 3D space. It's a pretty old game, so it seems weird that they're converting an old game into VR. Why not just make a sequel and just make a VR option for it?
Have something that's more of a big deal.
That would matter more, I would think.
Yeah.
Cosmonious High is the newest game from Alchemy Labs. It's kind of like a kiddie adventure game, it seems like. They're the same people that did Job Simulator and Vacation Simulator, so you can imagine this will be ridiculous and over the top, silly fun for kids especially. Hello Neighbor Search and Rescue from Tiny Build Games and Steel Wool Studios where you will have to, quote, outsmart your neighbor. So I imagine this will be like silly shenanigans, again, kid friendly, probably.
Yeah.
Probably in the realm of what's the octopus game? Octodad.
Oh, Octodad.
I imagine it'll be very Octodad-ish.
Can you be the deadliest catch in VR?
Boo.
Boo. Oh, come on. Let me have this.
Okay. And then your favorite Jurassic World Aftermath collection from Coat Sync will combine Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom that feature a voice cast including Laura Bailey and, of course, Jeff Goldblum.
Laura Bailey. If you want the real voice of, Kid Trunks in your head while going through this game,
lovely.
I mean that, and if you just put your hands out like this, the raptors will stop.
Dude, that's so going to be part of the game. I'm so certain that will be a gameplay aspect, and I'm annoyed by it.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna have a Chris Pratt mechanic.
You know how many like Twitch streams there's gonna be of people going like this on their stream?
Because we're just gonna skip over the whole. It took this one character training a raptor literally from birth to respond to your hand without biting it the fuck off.
Yeah.
It's like, we could just do this now?
Yeah. It works.
Oh, no.
One thing that
it's
is
not supposed to work.
One thing that is kind of cool about it, though, is they have a Dino Viewer mode, which is basically like a dinosaur museum where you can like go up to and like interact with it and look at like a big 3D model of a dinosaur, which will be awesome. It's like it'll be a good educational tool. It'll be fun for kids who like dinosaurs.
I just had the perfect idea for Capcom. So we did 2 Resident Evils. It took us a while to get to Resident Evil 8 with VR, but we're getting there. Dino Crisis.
You're never gonna get it.
Come on!
Never gonna get it, never gonna get it.
How,
never gonna get it, never gonna get it.
How dare you? Just give me what I want.
Yeah. Another game, Pistol Whip VR, is, quote, the award-winning physical action rhythm game where thrilling gunplay and dynamic tracks collide, creating a dreamscape world for players to blast, duck, and dodge their way through to become the ultimate action hero. Hooray.
Because we can't exactly call it Beat Gun as opposed to Beat Saber.
Hey, they have very realistic 3D models, okay? It's totally different.
I'm sure they do.
Zenith: The Last City will be a launch title for the VR2 and will welcome players to the MMO that features a full story and immersive combat with weapons and spells and much more.
You better get ready, Player One.
So that's the VR I want. That's the VR I expect at this point.
Right.
So hopefully I'm praying against all odds that this is a great game and that it totally works. And as an MMO, that's even cooler. To interact with other people in VR in a semi-realistic fantasy adventure game. Like, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, shit, we already have VR chat where you can just put in a model of whatever you want.
Don't compare VR chat to this, please.
If you think people aren't going to compare that to VR chat.
Ugandan knuckles everywhere. Just hordes of them.
I'm sorry. Are we or are we not talking about a VR MMO?
Just half-naked anime girls just looking like this, floating through the environment.
You know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen.
Oh, no.
Someone's going to get into the code. They're going to find a way to upload their own, like, modified skins. And it's going to be a fucking free-for-all.
I'm just thinking, like, how many trolls are willing to spend $550 plus the cost of the game to troll people in VR in this game?
Okay, the better question is how many people are willing to spend $550 pretending to talk to their anime waifus.
Too many. Way more than you'd think.
It's bad.
After that, we have After the Fall from Vertigo Games, which is a really good studio. It's a co-op shooter set in a post-apocalyptic version of Los Angeles, and it allows for up to 4 players to team up to take on a world filled with 32 real players at a time. It originally launched in December of 2021, but the content has, quote, more than doubled, and will have a fresh release on PSVR 2. So, look forward to that. Problem with these multiplayer dependent games, especially with that many people, you gotta sell a lot of systems and a lot of copies of the game.
Ooh.
To keep that many people on teams. And
I mean, there's something to be said about innovating, but there's also something to be said about knowing how to, essentially in this case, maintain a very large player base, which is, this game requires it in order for it to work. And it's hard enough to do that on a system that doesn't require a VR headset.
Yeah.
That isn't VR chat.
I mean, you can play VR chat with a phone.
Look,
and a piece of cardboard.
I mean, look. I'm just saying, like, this is the one thing that VR opens itself up to, is like, if someone ever gets to the point where they can jailbreak that system and start modding the shit out of it.
Yeah. Things are gonna get rough real quick.
Things might get rough real quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the reasons why a lot of companies that make games like this usually have a very well-known or established IP as the backdrop.
Yeah.
A recent example of this is Reverse. What's basically what's that game? Dead by Daylight, where it's like 1v4, where one person's playing as the slasher monster, and everyone else is trying to escape.
Yeah.
But even then, Reverse has been getting, like, while it plays like Dead by Daylight, because this is a Resident Evil only game, it's been getting negative reviews because there's already a game that exists that's basically doing the same thing, but better, and not limited to that one IP. At this point, I guess we're just going to see. We're going to see how well it does. VR may help.
Fingers crossed.
It may not, given that it costs more than a fucking PS5.
Yeah, I mean,
and requires a PS5 to work.
The only way this will be possible and sustainable in any shape, form, or fashion is if it's cross-play enabled. It has to be, right? There's just no way that it can sustain itself without being cross-play enabled, right?
If there's one thing that Sony doesn't want to do... I mean, if there's one thing that Sony would rather you eat their ass first, it would be doing anything crossplay where you're not going out of your way to buy a fucking PlayStation 5 and a PlayStation VR just to play this one fucking game.
That's true. However, having been a Warzone gamer for a while, they did enable crossplay.
Finally.
For a lot of their multiplayer stuff.
I mean, you have to be Activision or Blizzard or EA to, like, swing a big enough dick around to say, hey, I know you don't want us to do crossplay, but we're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not, they're doomed. They're doomed. Like, there's no way a game that large can be sustained when you need 32 players for the enemies, plus at least one more person.
That all depends on how cogent the coding infrastructure is for that game,
Maybe.
as well as any other VR system, since this is a VR-only game.
They have like bots, I guess. You can kind of get away with it, but bots are never good. You can always tell when they're bots.
Yeah.
So that'll kill a game just as quick.
That will. Again, we're still basically in like VR's infancy right now.
Yeah.
It's like where VR is right now is basically where the Nintendo Entertainment System, or the NES, if you're nasty, that's basically where we're at.
Yeah.
We're at the beginning, and just like with the Nintendo, it's going to live or die on its games. Hopefully this doesn't go the way of the Vita.
We will see. You know, just so many decisions being made by Sony right now that
I'll give them this. They're swinging for the fences, and they're swinging hard.
I guess. And then the last game on the announced list is called Tentacular, which brings a lot of
did we just go right back to Octodad?
Lewd boy hentai.
No.
Visions to mind.
No.
HitTheBooksVids@gmail.com.
No.
Please address to Emery.
Don't you do it.
Tentacular from Fire Punched Games UG is a, quote, charming VR game about a gigantic but good-hearted tentacled beast trying to figure out its place in the world and your orifices.
Are we sure this isn't Octodad 2 Squidly Boogaloo?
It certainly looks like a very rudimentary Octodad type game. So look forward to that if you have the money and the ability to get a PSVR 2 and a PlayStation 5 and buy the game. Good luck. Next up on the news, more bad Sony news. Sony has lost nearly 2 million PlayStation Plus subscribers since they revamped their service with the 3-tiered list. But they hope to improve things in the near future as the word gets out. According to the company's latest financial report, Sony's multi-tiered PlayStation service subscription dropped from 47.3 million at the end of June to 45.4 million subscribers in the 3 months leading up to September 30th, a decrease of 4%. Sony highlighted that the ratio of gamers subscribed to the service is significantly higher on PS5 than it is for the previous generation PS4 console, however. In response, Sony leadership plans to accelerate the adoption of PS5 hardware to recover this user engagement going forward. So, all of these things kind of tie into each other. Why aren't people adopting the PS5 hardware? Maybe it's because all of our games are still available on the goddamn PS4. So, supply chain issues aside, but we got past those probably about half a year ago at this point.
I mean, here's the thing. The supply chain issues sort of did near irreparable damage to the perception of PS5's availability.
Yeah. Now they have a PR issue with the availability of their consoles.
They do, and I'm going to go as far as to say the pricing issue is also probably a factor here too.
Yeah.
Given that the premium, they were really pushing forward the pay $50 for 3 months sort of deal.
Yeah, I mean they're killing. Look at God of War Ragnarok as like the most recent example.
Yeah,
like to your point, premium price for a video game for the PS5 versus the PS4 version.
Yeah,
obviously availability or the perception of availability of the consoles.
Yeah,
you have this huge, visually impressive, amazing game that's supposed to be your console seller. That's available on the previous gen hardware and runs fine on the previous gen hardware. It doesn't help the perception that there's a supply chain issue, which there was, no longer really is.
Well,
and then
it's not. I'm gonna go as far as to say it's not that it doesn't help the perception of the supply chain issue, games like that don't help the perception of the need to adapt to the next step in the technology.
Yeah.
If the games look as good as it does on the next gen, on the current gen, why the fuck would I spring $500 just so I can make this game look a little better?
Yeah. And there's other problems with this that I think we can point to as a frequent user of the PlayStation ecosystem. If you go back to our episodes when this service came out, we had such a hard time trying to figure out what was actually included and what wasn't included on each of the tiers. And quite frankly, like, the middle tier was pointless. If
Essentially, yeah.
For the price difference between the premium tier and the middle tier, you might as well just get the premium tier, because it's like an extra $2 a month to get all of these extra features.
Yeah,
and all
pretty much.
Basically free games from PlayStation 2 era, PlayStation 1 era, PS3 era, via the streaming services, the PlayStation Now, which got adopted. And then on top of it, if you had an active PlayStation Plus subscription, they stopped your renewal automatically. So a lot of people they just set it and forget it, just like Netflix or Hulu or anything else.
Right.
When they did that, when they revamped the service, they had to make it so that you had to opt into a specific tier when you revamped. You couldn't just keep your automatic recycle. So that probably accounted for a lot of the drop too. They probably lost a ton of people that weren't even paying attention to the fact that they were subscribed because they hadn't picked up their PlayStation controller in a little while. These passive players are players that like don't play multiplayer that often and don't need the PlayStation Plus service to play the games they usually play. Like, if you play an Elden Ring, like, you don't really need a PlayStation Plus subscription if that's the type of gamer you are.
Yeah.
So I imagine that accounts for a big chunk of it as well. So you got confusing launch of these bracketed tiers. You have, with a poorly valued mid-tier, you have the removal of the new subscription. You have the optics of supply chain issues still constraining the console systems. You have the issue with all of these games still being released on the previous gen systems. And then on top of all of that, you have like negated the effectiveness of your gift card system or your carded subscription system.
Yeah.
Because what a lot of people did, including me, would wait for PlayStation Plus cards to go on sale on Amazon or whatever, usually around like Black Friday or whatever, buy like 2 or 3 years worth, and then just log it all in your account at a discount, buy it all at once, and then you got like 2 or 3 years of PlayStation Plus to look forward to, and you don't have to think about it again.
Yeah,
and now,
I mean,
basically all those cards were made
invalid
and unusable. And that was what a lot of people were doing. Now you can't get like a discount like that anymore. It's just like, hey, this is the price. You pick your tier, you get it. That's it.
Yeah, I am going to go so far as to say I have what I would think would be pretty good marketing in terms of how to get people back into it. You start by basically advertising the history of PlayStation. All of the games. There are games from the original PlayStation that you can play on PlayStation Plus right now.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of them. You advertise the history of PlayStation from 1 all the way up through 4 and showing off like some like stuff with 5. And you, with showing off the stuff of 5, you say like, oh, this is the future of gaming. And then to really make everybody hot for it, you show what the price is, and then you visibly slash it to where it's like $10 to $15 less.
Yeah. Or at least have like frequent sales, like maybe once a quarter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only way I can foresee them resolving it. Honestly, I think they should get rid of the middle tier entirely. Just make it simple. Like, hey, you got basic PlayStation Plus for your basic multiplayer and a handful of free games every month. Or you can get the premium tier and get a ton of value, a ton of games, cloud saves, blah, 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 all this extra stuff that you don't get, including the classic catalogs like PS1, PS2 games. And then, like you said, have the price reduction. Because I guarantee you, if you reduce the price to like that mid-tier price, and then you condense it so it's more clear to the audience and to the people you're trying to recruit what it is and what they're actually getting, and they don't have to like make this weird decision between a mid-tier and a low tier and a high tier. It'll make it much more simple for the audience. So I think they just need to simplify it, roll it out, like you said, do some kind of promotional discount, call back on nostalgia of the PlayStation heritage, and then go from there. And I think they could very quickly turn it around, but we will see.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you have a PS5 and you don't have the premium tier of PS Plus, you're missing out on a ton of awesome stuff. Like
absolutely.
I haven't paid for a game, like a new game, in so long, because I'm just playing all my free games on premium. Granted, it's not free, but like the amount you're paying for a year of the service that you have to have for multiplayer most of the time anyway. And then you get the free games permanently on top of that with the 3 games or 4 games a month. Like, it's such an incredible value. I can't hype it enough.
It is.
Ignore the middle tiers.
Yeah,
it's pointless.
Yeah, premium. If you've got the money, premium's where it's at. Full stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And quite frankly, it's not that expensive. Like, Netflix is going to be more expensive pretty soon here.
Yeah, considering what you're getting, it's kind of a steal.
It really is. It really is. You think about these games that are 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 bucks.
Yeah.
And you can play them for free right now if you have that service.
And
it's outrageous.
Along with the free trials where you can actually like test out a game before you spend the money on it.
Yeah, so you don't get burnt. You don't get Cyberpunk 2077.
Ooh, yeah, we all got cyberpunked.
Yeah, imagine if you had a trial for that before you bought it.
Ooh,
when it first came out.
Yeah, that
would have saved a lot of people a lot of heartache.
It would have.
Would have probably saved CD Projekt Red a lot of refunds and the logistic problems of providing all these refunds.
Them keeping the game on PS5 only would have saved them a lot of refunds.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Next up on the video game news, Microsoft has announced that it actually loses between $100 and $200 on every Xbox sold, and it relies on add-ons and video games to make its money. This was confirmed by Xbox boss Phil Spencer while speaking with interviewers from CNBC and from Eurogamer. This is ridiculous. How are they losing so much money on this system? Especially the one. This comes back to the conversation that we had with Nick a few episodes ago, where we're talking about the cost of simplification, the fact that they have 2 different systems.
Yeah.
Like the actual next-gen system and this weird in-between system. That probably cost them so much in losses because the components alone, because they're not ordering the same components in volume, instead they're cutting it in half and having to do half of this and half of that. That alone is probably making their costs go through the roof. So that's just an example of just incompetence at the top level.
Right.
Shouldn't have done it at all.
I think the thing that's really dumb about this is that when you break down the pricing, assuming that there's $499 for the Series X and $299 for the Series S, if you're losing $100 to $200 per console, it's like you're basically giving away like at least $100 worth, or no, you're giving away $200 when you're making $100. Like you're basically paying people to take this off of you.
So let's do a little math experiment here. So let's assume that Xbox is somewhat close to where PlayStation 5 is in terms of sales. As we reported, over 25 million. We'll say 25 million Xboxes are sold in the near future. Let's multiply that by, let's be conservative and say $100.
Okay.
So $100 worth of losses for every single console sold of that $25 million or $25 million. I keep saying dollar million units. Let's see what that comes to. Oh,
okay.
That's $2.5 billion in losses.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, they could not be They could not be losing an entire country's worth of money.
Microsoft could.
Okay, yeah, Microsoft could, but
they have more than that in cash.
I hate that.
Apple has like 8 trillion.
I hate that even more.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
To say that every time you sell one of these things, you're losing $100.
That's conservative, by the way. They said
Conservative.
100 to 200. So that number is actually much higher.
Which would mean that every time someone buys one of these, you're getting pretty close to breaking even or selling these things at cost. That's no profit.
Yeah, no, it's not uncommon for these systems to be sold at cost or to be sold at a slim loss. $100 to $200 is atrocious.
That's just billions.
Billions of dollars in losses that I guarantee they are not recouping because of Game Pass.
There's not nearly enough people spending money on Game Pass to make that amount of loss worth it. And I think the question would also then have to go to how much are they being outsold by the PlayStation 5?
Yeah, they didn't report the number yet, but I imagine we'll find out in the near future.
Yeah.
The fact that they're quiet about it usually means something bad, though. That usually means not as many as we'd hoped.
Yeah, and to be fair, Microsoft wasn't the only, hardware developer releasing like 2 different versions of a gaming system. I mean, the PS5 does have a disc version and a non-disc version.
Yeah. But that's just one part.
That's
one part.
That's
you're not changing the CPU.
That's
and the GPU.
Beauty of the simplicity of what Sony was doing.
Yeah.
Is like they knew all too well that if they were going to try to sell these en masse, the only way that they were going to get a discless version of this to work would be to cut some of the price off. But then if people really want to buy the disc, which is slowly being phased out, and I'm sorry, GameStop, it's true, then why don't we just release these things at the same time and see which one outsells which? And I think the common mantra is, if you're going to get a PS5, get the disc one, because people still like the idea of having physical media.
Plus, it's just nice to have the option, you know?
Yeah.
If you want to collect, a steel box and instead of having a slip, like they keep these latest ones, they have like a piece of paper with a code on it now.
Sweet Jesus.
What's the point? Why are you even buying this box then?
Selling an alphanumerical code.
And then there's...
that would be easy to steal, by the way.
Yeah. I think the value really is in like Blu-rays and like back catalog, because you can put your PS4 discs in. You can obviously you can put your PS5 discs in, but you don't need to. You just buy it digitally. But the PS4 discs you can still play on there. You can still play your Blu-rays and DVDs. Like that's where the value of the disc is. If you have a catalog of movies and games that you don't want to just suddenly have no value to you,
yeah,
you preserve that value by getting a disc version. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, and it took Sony a while, but I think they've figured out, and in this case, finally kind of caught up to, or slowly catching up to, the Xbox approach to backwards compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
which is to basically just digitize every last one of these games.
Yep.
And over time, just have people pay for access to them.
Except for PS3.
Except for okay, there are PS3 games that are streamable.
It's not the same. It's not the same. Let's not pretend it is.
Okay. You're not wrong. It's not the same. It was like, I know one game that I wish I just had the physical version of it. But yeah, it's not the same. Slowly, but surely, it's all going to be phased out.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like physical media and what have you. I think if we're being honest, the discless version of the PS5 was kind of the first shot across that bow.
Yeah, and I mean, even the Xbox One had a discless version, so it's not unprecedented. But what Xbox did this generation, where they had the Series S and the Series X, that was a total mistake.
Right.
And it's probably driving a lot of the extra cost, whether they want to admit it or not. I think that was, from top to bottom, that was just a failure in engineering principles and cost.
Yeah, why? It's one thing to remove a feature, but to just have an overall inferior model released at the same time. That wasn't smart.
It's not a good look.
Yeah, and they're paying for it.
While on this interview, Phil Spencer also discussed that Epic didn't really know what to do with the franchise when referring to Cliff Bleszinski working on Gears of War and selling to Xbox. So apparently, that's the reason why we've gotten basically nothing from Gears of War for all of this time, despite being the only major franchise other than Halo.
I mean,
they didn't know what the fuck to do. They're like, we're out of ideas.
Okay, let's be very clear. Halo's also out of ideas.
That's fair, dog.
Like, all we're doing is selling Xbox another game franchise that's also out of ideas. Can they turn it around? Or are we going to have another 343 situation?
Yeah, I just I mean, like, they killed off the main characters, like Halo tried to make like new characters that mattered, but they didn't really. It's like, this isn't Master Chief, go away. It's just I'm not surprised that this was said, but I'm surprised that they said it out loud. Like, I get it in private meetings to the press. Why are you talking to the press and telling them that you're completely clueless with what to do with your keystone franchises?
That is bold.
And by the way, we're losing $2.5 billion minimum on these console sales.
I'm just hearing in my head Kevin Hart yell the words, "Help me." Help me.
So I'm not trying to beat up on Microsoft or Xbox. They have a good system generally, and they have good games generally. But goddamn, like, Sony has problems, but Xbox has huge problems, and they don't even bother trying to solve them because they're such a wealthy organization that they have so much cash on hand they don't mind burning it.
Right. That their games department is kind of an afterthought, all things considered.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like, I don't understand how they maintain that branch of the company, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the next generation or two they end up just making it a platform and selling it off to Steam or something like that.
We'll see how well the games like Starfield and, God help us, Elder Scrolls 6 eventually, when we're all dead.
Yeah, I mean, if this Activision Blizzard purchase goes all the way through, like, they're going to be the biggest game company on the planet, just with all of their properties and all of their studios that they own. I imagine that's why they're pushing so hard in this direction, purchasing Bethesda and purchasing Activision Blizzard, and I think they're on the move to becoming like the biggest third-party provider of video games, along with companies like EA and Ubisoft and just saying fuck it on the hardware. If PlayStation wants to play this game, they can. If Nintendo wants to do their own little, drooling in the corner, playing with Legos game, sure. But we're not going to bother taking these $2.5 billion losses anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see what happens. And honestly, at this point, it's going to come down to whether or not those big games hold up, because the system's pointless if the games on it aren't good.
Yeah,
and if what happened with Overwatch is any indication, all it takes is one big enough fuck up for people to abandon ship.
Yep, it's a problem. it's a big problem, but we will see. I mean, people have been theorizing that Microsoft was going to go in this direction at some point anyway. It just seems more apparent than ever because they're not really generating exclusive anymore. They're buying up third-party developers and then arguably
trying to call them exclusive,
converting them to exclusives in parentheses because it's all still on PC anyway.
Yeah,
which obviously Microsoft, the PC platform. So, I just don't know. I just don't know what the point is.
Yeah,
Sony, I get it. They don't own Windows. They don't own Mac.
They sure as hell don't.
So they have to do everything proprietary, and so it makes sense for them to have a lot of high-end exclusives like God of War and Horizon and Last of Us, etc. It does not make sense for Microsoft, and they have been losing money on every console generation since it was launched on the original Xbox. So.
But they keep making consoles.
They keep going.
They keep going.
They keep going. So
they've got the money.
We'll see how long they want to burn it.
I guess.
I would not be surprised if the next generation they just abandon consoles in general
and just go all PC.
Yeah, and just like sponsor a PC. Like, here's an Xbox or a Microsoft, approved PC for your Xbox.
All
infrastructure
of your gaming needs. Yeah.
Just make Xbox a storefront like Steam, or integrate with Steam, which is more likely because they already put a lot of games on Steam.
Oh yeah, you integrate with Steam. You do not. Well, okay, I was gonna say you don't compete with Steam, but Epic Game Store,
they try.
They're trying. They're still around. GOG, that's still around.
Helps on those monopoly law. I'm sure Steam is like all about it. Like, yeah, by all means, Epic, go do your thing, baby. Do your thing. Make it look like we have a competitor.
Keep trying.
We all know we don't.
You keep your Fortnite, I guess.
All right. Well, that wraps up all of our video game news. Now we'll jump into our TV and movie section of the podcast. Of course, there will be some overlap, but with the priority of the system that we're rolling out, if it's a TV show or a movie, even if it's based on a video game or comic book or something else, we're focusing on that as a TV or video. All right. So Sonic Prime, the exclusive release for the Netflix adaptation, has been revealed and has received a release date of December 15th of this Christmas season. So if you're a Sonic fan and you like their animated adaptations, feel free to go and watch that. Hopefully it's good and all the kiddos can enjoy. Of course, the movies were both good, so those are still available for you. I wonder if the movies will become available on the streaming service as well. That would make sense if you're trying to, get as many eyes on the character in the show as possible.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of the trailer, and it definitely has an into the Sonic verse feel.
Yeah, and it's rolling out at a good time, I think, because obviously we got the new Sonic Frontiers game coming out for the holiday season, which, okay, they tried something. It doesn't look great. Reviews are pretty mid, like 7s.
Mid is probably being generous.
It looks kind of boring, I'm gonna be honest. It looks like there's way too many stupid mini games that are completely unnecessary. They brought fishing back. They brought Big the Cat fishing back to the forefront.
There is a pretty well-known YouTube video game reviewer called Skill Up. Shout out to Skill Up. His review, it was probably the most polite but scathing review I've ever seen in my life.
Oh,
he called it like an alpha build.
oh no. Yeah, I think that
Like-
one of the biggest problems people have been having, like you were saying, is that there's just popping everywhere because the character's going faster than the game can run. The game can't keep up with the character.
Oh God, we can't get back to blast processing if the character goes past everything we blast.
Yeah.
It's
It's funny. Every review I've seen, like alluding to what you were talking about, says like there's innovative parts and then there's really dumb parts, and like you gotta like enjoy the innovation and then just deal with the nonsense, which sounds like every Sonic game at this point.
I mean, yeah, every one of those games is gonna have a level of nonsense, but it seems like the biggest gripe that everyone has is that it feels mostly empty. And for a game that was supposed to be touting a big overworld,
We have Zelda to thank for this. Again, that game's not a 10. I've played it now. It's not a 10. It's not. It's very good. It's not a 10.
Sonic Breath of the Rings or something.
Yeah. Breath of the Chili Dogs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like they ripped off Twilight Princess and Breath of the Wild at the same time.
Oh.
And then just shoved Sonic into it.
Oh.
Now Kith.
Now go fast.
Not that fast.
Slow down.
We can't keep up. Yeah.
We can't blast process anymore. You're too fast.
So we'll see. I'm sure I'll play it eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sonic Generations gave them the formula.
They
Just
did.
Just
They
copy
really did.
Sonic Generations. Make awesome levels with 2D versions and 3D versions that are just levels. If you want like an open world place, like a playground to go around and do silly things for fun or collect, collectibles or NFTs.
Oh no!
No,
Oh,
I'm kidding. Don't do that.
Oh God!
I'm kidding.
Don't give them ideas.
But just make like fun, fast levels with great colors and music. Like this game does not have great colors. It's very drab and dreary and gray.
Which is the last thing that you want for a fucking Sonic game.
There's literally a Sonic game called Sonic Colors that people love.
Oh no!
Do not make it dreary and gray and depressing. That is not what Sonic is. Thank you. But yeah.
Welcome to our TED Talk.
Moving on.
Moving on.
And this isn't even the video game part of the podcast.
Yeah, no.
A new Japanese Godzilla movie is coming in 2023. The company behind its creation is the original company behind the character, the King of Monsters, the Godzilla, that we all know and love from the old films out of Japan. So
Toho.
really cool to see. It was announced as part of Godzilla Day 2022, which is I didn't even know that was a thing, but okay. Takashi Yamazaki will direct the new Godzilla film. He is previously credited with Lupin the Third, the First, Parasite Part 1 and Part 2, Dragon Quest Your Story. This will be his first time directing a Godzilla movie in particular. So, should be cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Is there really a movie called Lupin the Third, the First?
Yes.
Did anybody like say that out loud and think about how...
This is Japan.
Oh my God.
This is the country that provides us 352 over 1/2 days as a title.
Okay, but that's Kingdom Hearts, though.
Don't worry, we got Final Fantasy 13-2 and Final Fantasy 13-3.
Lightning Returns.
We got Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn. Not to be confused with Final Fantasy 14. This is Japan. They don't make sense. They just throw numbers and fractions into everything for no apparent reason.
And that's before we get to anything related to Hideo Kojima.
Next up on the news. Big announcement for us. The Sandman has been renewed at Netflix for season 2. Huzzah.
You know, I was worried. They had me going for a minute.
I was surprised it took so long because it seemed on paper that everything was going very well. And that
it was getting near universal praise?
It was always on like the top 10 watch list, if not number 1.
Right.
Every time I was getting on Netflix, I'm sure if I got on right now, it might still be on the lower end of that. But yeah, like the show is great. Why wouldn't that just be an automatic renewal?
Yeah, that. Also, don't blue ball us and have us like see just the beginning of the arc between dream and desire, and it's like, come on, man. You gotta give us at least one more season.
Yeah, I feel like the executives at Netflix just didn't expect it to be successful, and we're like, fuck it, here's some money, go film it, go away.
Right. And
then it was successful, and they didn't want to acknowledge it because they wanted to spend the money elsewhere. But
I wanted to spend that money on something else.
Yeah.
So now we gotta actually make it okay.
Thank you.
We,
you know what?
In the community, thank you.
There's going to be another Netflix show that we're going to mention in the news later on. Cancel the next season. You don't need it. We don't want it. Spend that money on Sandman. Or reboot the franchise I will discuss later in the show.
And we're going to get to that.
Stay tuned. Next up, the Russo brothers have confirmed they will not be coming back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe until at least 2030. So, obviously, they're famous for doing several of the Avengers movies and Captain America. It's surprising that they're just not even going to touch a Marvel movie.
Is it?
Until 2030. And
Is it?
Kind of wonder if this is related to all the backstage problems we're hearing about with Marvel Cinematic Productions.
Do you really wonder?
I mean, I would like to know the story. I don't doubt that there's a good reason.
Yeah, we want the details, but I think the writing is on the wall.
Yeah.
Like, there are managerial issues at Disney, specifically in Marvel's line, because, well, we got a lot of shit going on.
They sure do.
I mean, a lot of the shows that they produced were basically, if we count them for time, what would be long enough to be considered a trilogy of movies unto themselves every single time.
Yeah.
It's like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier has enough material for 3 movies on its own. Let me rephrase. It has enough runtime for 3 movies on its own.
Okay.
The material was 1 movie, but the time was 3. WandaVision. Enough material for 1 movie, but the time was enough for 3. Loki, same fucking deal, so much so that Tom Hiddleston himself basically called what he did a trilogy of movies unto itself.
Yeah.
Even though that's basically 1 plot stretched into 3 movies.
Yeah.
When you do all of that, spend that much money, and you're trying to do feature films probably during the worst possible time, considering the pandemic, of course they're probably trying to get all of their money back in their giant money bags, because we know they have to have giant money bags if they're going to keep doing this shit.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, where they first had critical praise for 10 solid years, as soon as we saw the crack in the armor start to show itself, the crack got wider and wider and wider and wider, and they're going more and more obscure. And I applaud them for trying things. But when you have more fails than wins in the span of 2 years, and I think there's probably 9 different projects at least?
Yeah, I mean, let's just try to run them off real quick. So, win category, fail category. I'd say I think She-Hulk is clearly a lose.
Yeah, that She-Hulk, fail.
Miss Marvel,
I'd
say it's rough, but it's a win.
Yeah, it's a very by the skin of their teeth. That's a win.
Okay. What else we got? Loki is a clear win.
Loki's a win.
WandaVision, I think, could be argued. I would say it's a loss, but I don't know how you feel about it. It's very much on the border.
I would say it's a loss, if for no other reason than it's so divisive among the fan community, because a lot of people see that as a character assassination.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
And it definitely went way too long.
It did. What could also be considered a loss, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the movie, but they messed up a lot of things and a lot of characters, and they wasted a lot of opportunities.
They did. They really did. That was the completion of the character assassination of the Scarlet Witch.
Yep. Thor: Love and Thunder, clearly a loss.
Clearly a
Huge loss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't understate it. Spider-Man.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
I mean, it was fan fiction.
It was specifically fan fiction that only works in a theater. If you're not in a theater, a lot of those clap for the moment scenes are awkward as hell.
Yeah. I don't want to give it an L, but I feel like I should.
I'm gonna.
They need the help. We'll say it's a win.
Yeah, we're gonna say it's a win
Marginal
because of the numbers that it did. Just based on the numbers.
Eternals is a loss.
Eternals, a loss.
What else we got?
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I liked it. I recognize most people don't.
I also liked it. I'm going to say that everyone treated it as a win, so that's
okay.
Where we're gonna put it.
What are we missing here?
Hawkeye.
It was fine. I don't know how others felt about it.
I
feel like it was just an excuse to get Daredevil and Kingpin on screen.
It was an excuse to get Kingpin. Daredevil, we had to wait for She-Hulk.
Well, we saw Matt Murdock, right?
No.
Because he was in Spider-Man, and then he was in...
Spider-Man No Way Home, but we don't see him again until She-Hulk.
Okay. Unfortunate. Yeah. I don't know. What are you calling Hawkeye?
I'm going to call it a loss.
All right, so that's
if
6.
for no other reason than
I would agree with that. I thought it was fine, but I would agree with that. It's a loss.
Yeah, it's way more a loss than a win.
What are we missing?
Ms. Marvel. Oh wait, we already went over Ms. Marvel.
Yep.
We're counting that as a win.
Yep. I'm not going to count the animated stuff, which are mostly losses.
Yeah, we're not going through what.
We'll be generous.
What if you were trying?
Savage.
Gotta be. Let's see. What other movies had come out?
It's a bad sign if we can't even remember. That's a really bad sign.
I mean, yeah, it's a bad sign. Trying
to think. I watched them all very recently, and I can't even remember what the hell I watched. Oh, Shang-Chi. I think that was a surprise win. It was a CG nonsense fest, but it was good.
Yeah, we'll count that as a win. Oh wait, no, that's a...
Yeah, I'm at 6 and 5 right now.
I'm also at 6 and 5.
Did we miss any big ones?
Okay, so for movies, it was Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and
I feel like we're missing at least one, but I can't think of what it may be.
right. Thor: Love and Thunder was a movie.
Black Widow. I don't know if that was before or after Endgame. I think it was after, right?
That was after.
So,
That
yeah,
that
that
definitely goes in the
The
loss.
L.
Yeah, that
Big fat L.
yeah.
So that's 7 L's to 5 wins.
Yeah.
We might be forgetting more.
We
So,
might be forgetting more,
That's
which
not a good track record.
no, not even a little.
Yeah, and I think you made a great point talking about just how much extra they're doing. Like, not only going for all these fringe characters like Wonder Man, which absolutely don't need a Wonder Man show or TV show or movie, but I think you're right. I think they're stressing out their CG developers. I think they're stressing out their directors. They're stretching out their cast members and bringing in a lot of no-name talent to subsidize it and seeing kind of lackluster results, I'd say, more or less.
Yeah.
Pretty much across the board. And, even the ones that I do feel are wins are very marginal. Like Spider-Man, it's like, it was fun fan fiction. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing the old Spider-Man again. I didn't think the story was particularly well written. I didn't think the result was particularly good for the Marvel Cinematic Universe and developing characters and story going forward.
Yeah, there have been reports specifically on the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness where I think Benedict Cumberbatch went on record and said, like, there were a lot of times when we had to write our dialogue on the day.
That's horrendous.
That's terrible.
That's horrendous. Yeah, that's not good. Your script should be written.
Right.
Before you even begin searching for locations and deciding where to film, you should have a script.
Yeah, the script is supposed to be
That's
what they call a lock.
That's the bare minimum.
Right.
Yeah, it's concerning, and they still have to find a way to integrate the X-Men and Fantastic Four, and they're giving us all of these fringe characters in the meantime that we really aren't asking for. And even the ones that have at least some fanfare are just totally neutered. Like, I mean, the big reveal at the end of She-Hulk, I'm like, really? That's what he looks like?
Yeah.
Why? There's no reason to make him look like that. What are you doing?
Are we talking about Scar?
Well, I didn't want to spoil, but yeah.
We can She-Hulk we can spoil.
We don't want you to watch it. Yeah,
and also that picture's been floating on the internet for a while.
It's basically a meme now.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it's so bad it became a meme, you're in trouble. And he hasn't even had his first show or movie yet. Just, what are you doing?
It kind of made me think of the one time when you got your hair cut in a style that didn't really suit your head shape. You got lined up a little further back than I would ever suggest.
Yeah, lady cut off my widow's peak and gave me a straight line across my fucking forehead. It was so bad.
Scar. You can give him a mohawk unless you're trying to prep for Dakin before we even get like regular Wolverine. What the guys? Come on.
Yeah, it's not a good sign.
It's not, and it's no wonder the Russos left.
The new Ant-Man movie looks like Spy Kids 3.
Oh
It's just,
no!
the CG's getting worse. The acting's getting worse. The direction's getting worse. The writing isn't even done when they film.
I will say,
this sounds like DC.
I will
sounds
say
a lot like DC.
Kang though.
No.
If there's one thing that actually looked like they had spent some like legit money on, it was Kang's Ant-Man costume.
That'll look great on him for 5 minutes of the movie. Huzzah.
What are we, DC?
Oh, man. I can't have two bad companies. So DC needs to get its shit on track like immediately, or Marvel needs to fix their shit.
Or they can just, both slowly fall to the wayside while Image finally makes its comeuppance.
I think to your point, this is an easy fix for them.
Yeah.
Stop creating fringe character development stuff that isn't going to matter to the grand scale of things and to the overall arc of the MCU. Movie cinematic universes are limited. Eventually, you gotta kill it off. They're made up of only so many movies. You did a great job with the first decade. Now for the second decade, you're clearly losing track of the goal at hand, which is to build up to a big bad, have a big resolution, and have some great characters in between that have their own individual stories. So, like you said, stop making TV shows that should have been movies. Just make a movie.
Yeah.
If you want to release it on Disney Plus or in theaters, whatever, but just make a movie. Don't bother making 9 or, to Daredevil's point, whatever that number was, 28 episodes. That's probably not necessary.
18.
18.
They're working with 18. They did actually spring to turn what was going to be Armor Wars.
Yep. Which makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, let's make that a movie. We don't need all of this material. Let's cut the fat here and, actually punch up some of these moments as opposed to throwing a ton of moments that maybe don't land as hard because there's so much.
Yep, and then reallocate said resources that you just saved by trimming down the fat, as you said, getting rid of these unnecessary projects that nobody wants and nobody's asking for, and then attributing it to the CG development, the practical effects, all the stuff. The biggest criticism I've heard recently out of a lot of the cast in these Marvel films, these recent ones, is that they're more often than not acting alone
against tennis ball.
Yeah, against a green screen and a tennis ball outfit. Like, that's not conducive to any kind of good acting. And I get it. Some of these people are brilliant. They're very good at it. But it's just not the same. It's like the funeral scene at the end of Endgame, where that Tony Stark's funeral, and like nobody looks like they're actually mourning. They're just standing there. You know why? Because they had them all come in individually against a green screen, and they didn't tell them what they were there for. And then film the funeral scene that nobody knew was a funeral scene because they were trying to compartmentalize it and not tell anyone. And obviously, because it's a fucking green screen, they don't have any context for what's going on. Just why? Why these things are gonna get out whether you like it or not.
Right.
I'm not saying just be like flippant with it. Have security, make sure everybody understands. Don't tell anybody. But tell them what the fuck's going on so they know how to act. Like that shouldn't be a dead moment. That shouldn't be just like glazed over dead eyes in every actor and actress's face because they're just pretending to do something they don't understand. Like it. Yeah, and that's more of a modern movie making issue.
I was gonna say let's relegate that face to Captain Marvel.
Savage.
Hey, she gave us a whole movie of that face.
I feel bad for her, man. A lot of people give her shit. Like she's fine. Like
now, mind you, she won an Academy Award.
Yeah, she's not a bad actress.
She's just obviously been given shit material.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Gal Gadot managed. She had plenty of shit material.
Did she?
She still managed to act.
Okay, that's a case that's kind of like the reverse, where like you have someone trying to turn something bad into something good. Actually, no, that's the same case.
It's the same case.
Yeah, Wonder Woman 1984. What the fuck?
DC, you suck. I love you, but you suck. James Gunn, save us. All right, moving on. The Last of Us TV series has released a premiere date for HBO Max, so we will soon be able to watch the content. It will come out on January 15th, 2023, which is perfect because that's when the fun of Christmas and New Year's has worn off, and now it's cold and gray and dreary, and you want to be depressed and locked in a house. Hooray.
Oh, no.
Hooray. Like I said, I have some big concerns about this because they literally told the actress that plays Ellie, do not play the games because we want you to act the way you think you will act for this character in the script. And I'm like, the whole point of The Last of Us is the character interaction between Joel and Ellie.
The whole point of acting... Okay, let me rephrase. The whole point of playing a pre-established character in a different medium is that you would be bringing that character, that same character, who would probably still act the same way, to life in a different medium.
Yeah. So I'm concerned, to say the least.
It's like, if she acts completely different from Ellie in the games, it's basically going to be a new character.
Yeah. Why even bother?
Right.
Just put some new characters in the story and put them in the Last of Us universe.
Like, don't even call them Joel and Ellie at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. So I have concerns. We'll see. Hopefully it's good, but I have concerns that it will be trash.
Yeah.
DC's Stargirl is officially canceled after 3 seasons, to the surprise of no one. Jeff Johns says the final...
It had 3 seasons?
It will. Jeff Johns says the final season will bring complete creative closure to the character, and this is more or less the end of the Berlanti-verse as we know it.
Yeah, that's been on its last legs for a while.
Yep. In other HBO news, HBO has canceled its Westworld show after 4 seasons. Honestly, I was surprised to hear that it was still going, much like Stargirl.
Same. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the first season, and then I just never got back to it and never watched the other seasons. So, and I feel like it came out a long time ago. Like, I'm surprised it's only 4 seasons in. Yeah, it premiered in 2016. So, since 2016, they've only managed to make 4 seasons. And the 4th hasn't come out yet.
Yeah, if you... To anyone who wants new sci-fi to watch, Showtime has a show called The Man Who Fell to Earth, which is a remake of a David Bowie classic.
Yep. We'll see. I don't know. I really thought it was cool that they rebooted Westworld and put a really cool spin on it. I've heard
old ass Charlton Heston movie.
Yeah. I think the problem is once you reveal the big reveal, like after that point, like what's the there's nothing else to do.
Like once the cat is out of the bag, you're just drawing out one philosophical question over the course of 4 seasons.
Yeah. So again, I only watched the first seasons, but I imagine that the second and third season started to get long in the tooth, and I imagine that's why the 4th season's already canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I shouldn't speak about it if I haven't watched it yet, but I imagine because they basically gave up like the whole point of the story in the first season. So I imagine the second season just finished that out, and then the third season was like, let's find something else to do.
Yeah.
Next up, we got some Warner Brothers Discovery news, of course, because they're always in the news. They have announced that they are going to focus primarily on franchises going forward, and that they still have the rights to the Lord of the Rings movies. This was really surprising, because as we know, Embracer Group purchased the rights for, I think, $800 million on a recent episode we talked about.
Yeah.
And then obviously Amazon has the TV show rights, which they spent $1 billion for. And then Warner Brothers still has the rights to create movies? That's really weird.
It might be something where there's a like the length of a contract. They might have the rights for like up to a certain point in time, and then it reverts over to Embracer Group.
Yeah.
That being said, just let Embracer Group do something. If the Rings of Power was any indication, I think the very best iteration of what the Lord of the Rings had to offer is already behind us.
Yep. So obviously included in that catalog is Harry Potter, House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, and the DC Cinematic Universe here. So we will see. They also have
what the hell are they going to do with Harry Potter?
Well, it's a good question.
Because I don't know about you, but it seems pretty clear to me that controversial at best is what I would call the marketability of any sort of property having to do with that franchise.
There's still a strong Harry Potter fandom, though, I think, even despite the issues with the J.K. Rowling and the back and forth of the actors that played roles in her movies. I think the problem is, like, at what point are we just going to get exhausted, you know? Just be like, we don't need more of this. Like, the prequel movies are terrible. They're terrible.
Yeah.
Like the first one kind of had a point, and then they were like, forget that. We don't care about this character.
Yeah,
and they had to change the villain 3 times because the actors kept getting in trouble or refusing to do it.
That in itself is kind of funny. It weirdly reminds me of this movie, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. Which was unfortunately like one of the last things that Heath Ledger ever did.
Yeah, he didn't finish it because he died.
Yeah, and they had like 3 other people
Johnny
also
Depp
come in.
And I don't remember who else.
It was like Johnny Depp, Jude Law,
that's
Colin Farrell.
They just brought them all back for Dumbledore's prequel series.
It took me a minute. It was like, wait, hold on.
That's a good point. I wonder if that was a WB movie too.
I wonder.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. But yeah, with Harry Potter, just what I said for The Lord of the Rings, second verse, same as the first.
Yeah.
It's like the best years of Harry Potter are behind us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's surprising, to say the least, that they're just literally writing everything off the books, deleting it from their streaming services forever, and just like eating a shit dinner to like swallow Batgirl and all these other multi-million-dollar projects.
It's like rebuild DC, and then also Warner Brothers focus on Dune right now.
I just don't understand what they're going to do with Lord of the Rings if Amazon's making this series that looks almost identical, except we got anemic vegans running everything.
Oh, you talking about Feminem?
Feminem! Feminem! Oh, that's amazing. I want a Feminem t-shirt so bad.
Like the
not
person,
just her. Like half the cast is like super scrawny. Like these are supposed to be like demigod characters. They're at a different level, and we're just like, they're like the vegan chef in the food truck down the street, you know.
It would be one thing if they actually knew how to write in a way that wasn't painfully obvious,
or you know, stuck to the lore at all.
Yes, sticking to the lore might actually help.
There's a reason why Lord of the Rings fans devour this huge extended version of Lord of the Rings. There's a reason. It's because they're devout followers of Tolkien. He made a very well-described, very deep world with its own canon, thousands of years of lineage that you can trace in the appendixes, in the Silmarillion. Like, there's so much character content world building that he did the heavy lifting for you.
And that's
Why do you think you're smarter than Tolkien?
That's before even considering all the stuff that his son added.
Yes.
It's like Christopher Tolkien has a library unto himself
Yes.
that he added to his father's work. And
They invented multiple languages, written and spoken, with full vocabularies.
and then Amazon said, nah. Nah, we got this.
I think
I
I got a good spin for this. It's almost it's not like it hasn't been done before. Obviously, The Hobbit. They had to bring in Peter Jackson to save it from the depths of hell because they took a like less than 200-page book and made it into 3 movies.
Yup.
Filled in the gaps with a bunch of shit that never happened in the first place.
Pulling pieces from the Silmarillion in order to pad this fucking thing out.
And then drowned it in terrible CG. And just like, there's concerns all around.
Valid concerns.
So I hope whoever Embracer Group chooses to develop the next iteration of Lord of the Rings, they choose somebody responsible who respects the canon and the material and the characters and the perspective. Please.
Cross your fingers.
I beg you. Thank you.
Maybe give that to James Gunn as well while we're at it.
Speaking of finances, Warner Bros. Discovery has announced that in their third quarter press release that they have lost $2.3 billion, and that's after all of their tax write-offs and all of their deletion of content to save money.
Must be feeling like Microsoft right now.
Yeah, they just like swallowing those hard-to-swallow pills, just one after the other. Zaslav was apparently super combative in these shareholder meetings, saying that, hey, we were removing a bunch of this content because it wasn't serving us and we were paying to have it on our service and blah, blah, blah. Basically saying, hey, we don't want to pay royalties to these people that made all these products for us. And so instead of doing something like, selling the rights to somebody else or allowing other companies to use it for streaming or whatever, we're just going to kill it forever. And you can't watch it anywhere ever again. Hooray. The digital future is now. You can no longer have the DVD. It's all streaming, and they delete it when they want a tax write-off forever.
Yeah, there's very probably no way. VPN. There's very probably no way that you'll be able to find any of this content.
Yeah.
Although there might be a veritable torrent of solutions to this problem if you think about it.
I like your thought process. Delightful. All right. Next up on the news, this is the one I've been alluding to all day. The Witcher has renewed for season 4 with a twist. Liam Hemsworth will be replacing Henry Cavill as Geralt in the series.
Where is the 3rd season?
Well, it's currently filming, as I understand it, and wrapping up production. But Henry Cavill has been very vocal recently, talking about how he would be happy to return to the role if the writers respect the content. And there's been a ton of criticism, not only from Henry Cavill, but also from the other cast members, of how poorly handled the 3rd season is apparently, and about how the writers don't hate the books, not just don't care about it, actively hate the books. You can't hate the content.
Wow.
And expect a good product out of this writing staff.
Fucking wow, guys.
Yeah. If I was in charge of Netflix, I would have fired all of those writers immediately. Been like, why did you even take this job then? Go fuck yourself. You're done. We'll hire someone else.
Every last one of them.
Yeah.
And then we're replacing Henry Cavill with who?
Liam Hemsworth.
Oh, I'm out. I'm out.
Why? Why would it, why? It's terrible. It's a terrible decision all around. I hope it never comes to be. I hope they just fucking cancel it, or somehow they fire the writers or get new writers and Cavill comes back. But yeah, the series started terrible to begin with. I'm being harsh, but it's true. Like, the series, if you don't know the lore of the series, the first season makes no fucking sense to anybody. That's the biggest feedback I heard from all the people that don't read the books, don't play the games, and wanted to get into a new fantasy unit. They're like, it's jumping around everywhere. I don't know what's going on. The sequences are way out of order in terms of the canon and the timeline, and they don't tell you that it's a different point in the timeline. They just go from scene to scene to scene. They changed a ton of iconic characters. Like, Triss is probably the most egregious, because Triss has a very iconic look with the bright red hair, and they're like, nah, we don't need that. Like, go fuck yourselves. Like, she's iconic for a reason. There's an aesthetic you have to have for that character. And then, like, you have the writers actively sabotaging the material because they don't like the books. Like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah, that's all of that is a recipe for disaster. And it makes me sad because, very much like DC, they have some good casting that could work great. And great actors and actresses that can play these roles, but they just fuck it up with bad directors and bad producers and bad writers, and it makes me so frustrated because The Witcher is such a deep set of fantasy lore that is not Lord of the Rings and not Harry Potter, and something refreshing that we can give fantasy fans, and it just makes me sad.
Let's see, that just made me want to come up with a song. Something along the lines of, toss this show out the window and forget it quickly.
Makes me so frustrated. Next up on the news, speaking of Gears of War in our video game segment, Gears of War movie hasn't been announced. And Netflix has also announced that it is developing an adult-oriented animated series within the Gears of War universe. They are teaming up with the Coalition. Ugh, man, it's getting late. They are teaming up with the Coalition for this new project. They have not released a timeline yet, but I imagine it will be hitting your screens on streaming services late in 2023. Yeah, I mean, Gears of War is known for having really fun gameplay and co-op mechanics and multiplayer.
I couldn't tell you the first thing about that story, though.
Yeah, no one gives a fuck about the story. It's like there's a bunch of roided up dudes in like kind of mech suits with chainsaw guns that don't make any sense, because why would you even need a chainsaw on a rifle?
And we're fighting aliens, right?
Yes and no, because they kind of come from inside the planet.
Are we sure we're not just Warhammer Space Marines? Because this sounds like Warhammer Space Marines.
It's kind of Warhammer Space Marines without the religion aspect. Yeah. Yeah, so there's
no one yelling Deus Vult.
I'm not saying they shouldn't do this. I'm just saying this doesn't seem like ripe material for great storytelling and a cinematic interpretation. Could be proven completely wrong, and that would be wonderful if I'm wrong, but that seems like a poor choice. And quite frankly, Gears has been dead for so long. As we alluded to earlier during their interview, they were saying they had no idea what the fuck to do with it after they killed Phoenix. So, like, I guess you're going to be pandering to the, like, 40 and late 30-year-old men who had Xbox 360s and played Gears of War.
Yup.
I mean, there's an audience there, but, like, probably not the demographic you want by the time it comes out, especially because you're going to add another year or two onto that. So, yeah. Well, I think that's a great point to end the main portion of the show. That's the end of our tech section, of course. Of course, we can't leave without presenting the weekly, prestigious, nay, life-changing award of Comic Cover of the Week. This week, there were a ton of really awesome covers. I mean, like, a ton. DC really knocked it out of the park in particular. They really had a nice assortment of covers, but Marvel did as well. Boom had a few. Like, this is a great week for art if you collect comic books, and why wouldn't you? Go to your local comic book stores.
Again, please support your local comic book stores.
And buy some art. All right? Don't be a Philistine. All right. This week, the award goes to Batman Incorporated #2, the Jorge Molina cardstock cover. And, of course, this is an extra big cover that goes from front to back. This cover, it's just awesome. It's just dynamic. It uses a very obvious integration of the murky, foggy Gotham-esque environment. I assume they're in Gotham. I don't know where else they would want to be. Maybe London.
And the foolproof design of having all of the notable characters standing on a rooftop with the Batman himself.
Yeah. Now, famously, I hate Batman Incorporated. I think it sucks. Not this current iteration, but just the idea, because we don't need that many Batman.
I didn't know they had another Batman Incorporated.
Yeah, it still exists. It's still a thing.
What?
So we have Batmans all over the planet.
I
hate
so
that idea.
Dumb.
And Frank Miller, I'm going to talk to you for a second. This is your fault. Because you basically created Batman Incorporated, the original idea in The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh.
Because that's basically how the comic ends.
Yep.
It's your fault. Now, Grant Morrison came along and said, all right, let's flesh this out. Let's have a Comanche Batman with feathers all over his head. Let's have a British Batman that wears a suit of armor. Like, just like
full on Dark Knight.
Yeah, real dumb stereotypes of everything, and they get pointy ears, and now they're bat people. And I hated it because one thing, it doesn't play with the character of Bruce Wayne, who's incredibly paranoid, and he doesn't bring people under his umbrella unless he can like control every aspect of their life, aka adopt them. So I feel like that's really the only reason why he has Robins. So I really don't like the idea of Batman Incorporated, especially a international group of Batman that he has no direct control over.
Why does one of them look like off-brand Azrael?
It probably is Azrael, to be honest.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah. And then we got Red Hood in there. Yeah, there's Azrael right there. And then this guy just looks like Moon Knight Azrael.
We're gonna make our own Moon Knight with blackjack and wait a minute. What do you mean Moon Knight is a rip of Batman? We already have Batman. We can't make another Batman Incorporated. We're bringing it back.
All right, so rant over. I'm sure this is a very good iteration created by Ed Brisson and John Timms, but what we're really discussing here is the wonderful cover art by Jorge Molina. Really great depiction of all the characters, really cool aesthetic. I really love the front to back covers, although it's almost impossible to display them in any kind of meaningful way without destroying them. That's the only downside of the like front to back covers.
I'm surprised you didn't pick a grifter cover.
Well, that's what I was going to mention.
Oh, I knew it.
Wildcats is back, baby. Wildcats #1 also comes out this week.
And who's on the front?
Fucking Grifter, of course. That's a variant, but the regular cover has a bunch of characters on it. But obviously, Grifter's the big one.
Wildcats returns, and it's weirdly unliefelded.
Yeah, it's much more like lamified.
Yeah,
but it's. The covers are awesome. I really love the Ben Oliver variant cover. Huge shout out to Ben Oliver. That Grifter's one of my favorite characters of all time. Certainly my favorite character from the Wildstorm / Wildcats universe. Like, fuck yes. Fuck yes. Give it. And of course it's a Black Label title, which means it's adult oriented, as it should be. And I'm so stoked. I can't wait. I can't wait to pick it up.
Oh my god.
I hope it's good. Please be good. Please be good writing. The post New 52 version was really good too, but
it just as a close second.
Yeah. I was trying not to show favoritism. My heart really wanted to give it to Oliver there, but I
wouldn't have said anything bad about it.
But like I said, there's a ton of like really awesome covers this week, so it was really hard to just choose one. It really was, biases aside. Again, great job, Jorge Molina. This is a wonderful cover. Love the big covers front to back. Always a lot more work, but always worth it. And as always, we'll read the description of the comic before we leave you. The pulse-pounding second chapter to No More Teachers continues as Batman Inc. continues to investigate the death of Ghostmaker and Batman's mentors. Each new lead only begs more questions and threatens to unearth a shocking secret buried deep in Ghostmaker's past. A secret that refuses to die. All right. There you have it. Batman Incorporated #2, Jorge Molina cover. Go get it from your local comic book shops.
Again, please support your local comic book shops.
All right, that's a great place to end it. Once again, thank you for sticking with us. We'll see what the edits look like, but it looks like this is going to be another really long episode.
Oh my god.
I might have to reduce some of my current events rants that were not particularly nerd related, but
yeah, we might have to do some
my bad, y'all.
Some selected selections.
Yeah.
Selective selections.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We did have a few bathroom breaks, but yeah, it's long. All right, let's get out of here.
Yep.
Of course, you can find us on Twitter at HTBVids. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/HitTheBooks. You can go to our website, htbvids.com. Of course, check out Those Natural Ones every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/Those Natural Ones. You can also find it on their YouTube channel, which I think you said youtube.com/Those Natural Ones.
Yes.
Or is it just the handle?
I think it's I think the handle's just the Natural Ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
So definitely check that out. Of course, we'll have links in the description so you can check that out much easier if you're watching the YouTube channel, or if you can see the links on your podcast service of choice. Of course, we're on YouTube, we're on Stitcher, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on Podbean, Amazon Music, etc. If you want us on any other service, please reach out to us at htbvids@gmail.com. And of course, you can always send us your little boy fan art. Once again, thank you for watching, listening. We really appreciate you. Please send us any kind of feedback you have. If you want any questions of the show discussed, or if you have any constructive criticisms that we can build upon, really appreciate your feedback and your support. We will see you next week.
God, I really want Vine to come back.
Oh, so good. Lemons!
My dad looks like what if you put together Al Pacino and Gilbert Gottfried.
That's amazing. Now I really want to see it.